and welcome to West Wave Aquatic Centre in Auckland for the 2020 New Zealand Secondary Schools Diving Championships. It's a pleasure to be here today and what's expected to be hot competition across three categories: juniors, intermediates and seniors. Glenn Lam is my name, and alongside me today is two-time Commonwealth Games rep Liam Stone. And Liam, nice to have you here. First time you've been a commentator.
It is, yeah, it's great. It's nice to be in a little bit of a different role at a diving competition for a change. So, yeah, it should be good explaining what's going on to everyone out there watching. And, I'm excited to see how all the divers go today.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. We are going to start off with the junior boys and the junior girls. They'll be competing alongside each other. Then we'll be moving into the intermediates and then into the seniors. So we're straight into the action here, and this is Corey Sanders from Albany Junior High School. And he just started there, Liam, with a forward dive pike off the 1 metre springboard.
Yeah, and that's a good dive for Corey. So you'll see, a forward dive pike, he's rotating forwards. He's going to add a little pike in the air. And the judges will be looking for how far away from the board he's landing and how small his splash is. And he's received some 5.5s there, so that's a pretty good start for Corey.
Yes, 2 5.5s and a 5. There are 5 judges. The top score and the bottom score will be discarded, so the 3 in the middle will count as the score.
That's correct.
That's Abraham Lee off the 7.5 metre platform. That was a forward 1.5 somersault pike.
Yeah, and that's a great dive for Abraham. He's one of our young up-and-coming divers, one to watch for the future, and he's done a great dive there as his first dive.
So he scored 7.5 and 7. So he's from Elam Christian College. Now we're on to the girls, and this is Natalia Wilcox of St Cuthbert's College. She's going to attempt a forward line-up straight from the 3 metre springboards. Yeah,
so this one, Natalia will just be falling from the board. She won't actually be jumping. And the judges will be looking for how tight her body is on the water, and in order to create a nice small splash. And she's done a pretty good job of that. Yes. So she's received some pretty good scores there, 6.5s.
Yeah, 3 6.5 scores for Natalia Wilcox from St Cuthbert's College. We're rolling through them pretty quickly. Now we're on to Jamie Ramsey of Albany Junior High School. A forward dive with a tuck off the 1 metre springboard.
So similar to what we started off with Corey, with the forward dive pike, and Jamie's doing a forward dive tucked there. So a tuck, you'll see she's had bent legs, trying to get into a small sort of ball shape in a tuck position, and then come out nice and straight. And again, aiming for that small splash, and she's done a good job.
Yes, a 7 and 2 6.5s. That's right for her. Now we're on to Lucia Luxton of St Hilda's Collegiate from Dunedin. Great to have some divers from Dunedin.
Yeah, it's really cool to see lots of people from all over the country.
That was a forward dive pike. What did you make of that one?
And that was from the 3 metre, and she got some nice height from there, which the judges are rewarding. And you would have noticed that her splash was really, really small, not much splash there at all, which we call in diving, we call it a rip. So if the diver goes through the pool, makes no splash at all, we call that, the diving lingo is that we call that a rip, and she's managed to do that.
Up we go to the 7.5 metre platform. So a long way down to the pool for someone of this age. This is Grace Campbell from Westlake Girls. And that was an inward 1.5 somersault pike with a degree of difficulty of 2.1.
Yes, so the inward direction, Grace is facing backwards, and she's spinning back towards the platform, which can be quite an intimidating thought. But she's done a really good job there, and just gone slightly over on her entry, which the judges will deduct from.
Now we're back to, she scored 2 7s, a 7.5. That was
So
Bella Mellon from Columba College in Dunedin. Forward dive with a tuck.
Yep, and it's a common dive that we're seeing in this first round. So she's received some 6s, which is a good start again.
Yeah, score of 18. That was a degree of difficulty of 1.2. Zoe Taylor from Albany Junior High School. We'll explain the scoring in just a minute for you one more time.
So another line-up dive there where Zoe's falling from the board. And she's done an excellent job there. She's landed nice and vertical, so the judges will be looking for how vertical they are. Are they under-rotated, over-rotated, or bang on? And she was bang on that one. And another rip that we just saw before. So good to see some good dives early on.
So each diver is going to complete 6 dives. This is the first of 6. And that was Elena Volkov of Takapuna Grammar.
Yeah, and Elena's had some great height there. And she's just over-rotated slightly, so she'll be rewarded for her height, but the judges will be deducting points for that slight little over-rotation, but still pretty good score, 6.5 sevens. The judges are marking out of 10.
They are indeed. Now we're up to the 7.5 metre platform again. Amelia Judkins of Western Springs. What did you make of that one?
Yeah, that's really nice. So you would have heard that entry, that sound that she made going through the water. That's all part of the rip that I was explaining earlier.
Well, she actually got an 8.5.
Yeah,
by
and
one
that's
of the
great.
judges.
Nice to see some 8s coming out. I expect we'll see more of those from the likes of Amelia.
Well, that one unfortunately will be discarded, but she got 2 8s and a 7.5. Dana Anderson of Cambridge High School now. Going off the 5 metre platform.
Yeah, again, so she's done the same dive that Amelia just did from the 7 metre. She's done it from the 5 metre. It doesn't make a difference what board you go from in terms of what the judges are scoring on. So they're just marking what they see.
So Elizabeth Dearden now of Columba College in Dunedin. Let's remind you that 5 judges are scoring. The top score is discarded and the bottom score is discarded. So then you end up with an aggregate of the 3 in the middle, and then it's multiplied by the degree of difficulty of the dive.
That's correct. So every dive is given a degree of difficulty. So the harder the dive, the higher the degree of difficulty. So obviously the harder the dive, the harder it is to do well. But if you do it well, you're going to receive potentially a higher score.
This is Ivy Root of Pinehurst School on Auckland's North Shore.
So another inward dive there where we're rotating back towards the board. And Ivy's done a pike dive there. She's just over-rotated slightly, which she would have been deducted for, but still 5.5, which is a good start for Ivy.
So we've got 17 girls in this category, and now we're up to Isabella Vukic of Howick in Auckland, forward 1.5 somersaults piked.
Yeah, so Izzy's done a good job there. Another front 1.5 pike. You'll see she started on the 5 metre for her first dive. She's 1.5 somersaults and she's landed nice and vertical. So the judges have rewarded her on that.
She scores 5.56 and 7. So 13, 18.5. Then you times that by the 1.7 degree of difficulty in dive, and then you get the score.
Exactly.
I'm good at maths, Liam, but not that good.
Yeah.
I need a calculator. Really fast
Computer does that for us.
Hannah Atchison of Hamilton Girls.
So that was the same dive that Izzy did before. That was off the 1 metre springboard. So on the 1 metre springboard, you're going to be bouncing and you get some nice height there.
Mm.
The platform obviously doesn't move. So it's slightly different technique in how they take off.
So this is Scarlett Robb of St Cuthbert's College. She's going to attempt a forward line-up straight down into the pool from the 3 metre.
Yeah, and that's excellent. So she's, again, that forward line-up is where they're just falling from the board. There's no jump, and the judges are really just looking on how straight she is when she enters the water and how small her splash is. And she's nailed that, 7s and 8s, so that's great.
Yep, that's 16.23, so she scores 23 points there.
Yeah, and that's a great start off a low degree of difficulty.
That's exactly right. Zoe Atkinson of Pinehurst now, with the same dive, but off the 5 metre platform.
Yeah, and again, she's done a really good job. So the fact that she's gone off the 5 metre does not change the degree of difficulty in this case. Often it will. And similar scores to what Scarlett got there. It was a pretty similar dive, really, so that's good to see.
Okay, 2 left in this first rotation. This is Bella Potter of Waikato Diocesan. She's going reverse.
Yeah, so we haven't seen this direction yet. So reverse is where you're going to be rotating backwards, but jumping forward. So another sort of intimidating one, spinning back towards the board, but quite a spectacle one as well.
She scored 3 5s there as Bella Potter. And then finally we've got Hannah Rutherford of Albany Junior High School, who's attempting a forward line-up piked from the 1 metre springboard.
Yeah, and that's a great dive for Hannah there. She, again, another forward line-up dive, so she's just falling and the judges are just marking on how well she enters the water, really, and she's entered really well on that. So 6.5 sevens, I think she'll be happy with that.
All right, so there we are. That's the first rotation, and there is no pause. We're back into it again. We're back to the top, and this is Corey Saunders of Albany Junior High School, who's now going with an inward dive with a tuck.
Inward dive here, yeah. So you'll see Corey is, again, inward dive. He's rotating forwards, facing backwards, so he's back towards the board. He's just landed slightly short of vertical there, which the judges will be deducting from. But I think he'll be happy with 5.5 on that.
Abraham Lee staying on the 7.5 metre platform, and he's going with an inward dive pike, degree of difficulty of 1.4.
Yeah, so look out for the rip on this. Oh, he's overcooked it, as we sometimes say. So he's at a nice start, and he's just over-rotated, so you see he's landed sort of slightly on his back, and he's kicked up a bit of a splash. So he'll still get 5.5 because it was nice through the air, but he's just over-rotated there and made a bit of a splash. So I've seen him do that better, actually, but 5.5 is not too bad.
Now Natalia Wilcox, forward line-up piked.
So another similar dive. We haven't seen that one yet, where she's starting from sitting on the board, and she's just going to be rolling off. And again, the judges are going to be looking for the same thing. She's in the pike position, so they'll be really looking out for how straight her legs are. If they're slightly bent, they'll be deducting. Same thing with pointed toes.
Jamie Ramsey, inward dive with a tuck. Jamie's from Albany Junior High School. 1.4 degree of difficulty for this dive.
Yeah, that's a great dive for Jamie. So this inward dive again, so she's doing an inward dive tuck, so she'll jump off the board, grab her tuck and into the water. Nice small splash there, so 6.5, she even got a 7 there, so that's really good.
Yeah. Here's Lucia Luxton for her second dive from Dunedin. Inward dive with a tuck.
Yeah, it's the same dive that we just saw from Jamie, except this time off the 3 metre. She's got some nice height. She's shown us a great tuck. She's just over-rotated slightly, which is why she hasn't received quite as good scores as Jamie did, but still not too bad, 5.5, 6.
Now Grace Campbell, this is one of the favourites. She is going with a degree of difficulty here, 2.0, back 1.5 somersaults with half a twist.
So this is the first twisting dive we've seen, and Grace has done a good job there.
Degree of difficulty of 2.
So she's done a half twist and a backwards rotation. She's just landed slightly short of vertical, which kicked up a splash. So that was really nice through the air, nice off the board, but just didn't quite nail that entry.
But that will keep her near the top of the standings.
Yes, well that was a higher degree of difficulty. So
that's right. So that's the thing to bear in mind, folks. Similar scores we're seeing, but her score will be much higher because the degree of difficulty is higher. Bella Meek Mellum, back dive with a tuck. That was nicely done.
That's really nice, yeah. So a backwards dive. I'm not sure if we've seen a backwards dive yet. Bella's shown us there a backwards dive tuck, which she did a really good job of. 6.5s are great. She was a little bit far away from the board. So if she was a little bit closer to the board, she may have received some 7s and 7.5s. So judges will be looking out for not only their splash, not only their height, but also how far away they are from the board. Well, too close or too far.
Zoe Taylor was off the 1 metre board before. Now she's off the 3 metre board.
And another line-up dive. So Zoe's done a good job there. She's received 5.5. She's over-rotated slightly, so kicked up a little bit of a splash, but I think she'll be happy with 5.5s on that.
Here's Eleanor Volkov from Takapuna Grammar. She's going to attempt a back dive with a tuck. Degree of difficulty 1.5.
Yeah, and you'll see, so she landed closer to the board than we saw a couple dives ago, and she's received a 7 there, so that's the difference.
Yeah, not a bad effort there.
Pretty good job there from Eleanor.
Nice and vertical into the water. Amelia Judkins from Western Springs. Inward dive off the 7.5.
Yeah, and that's really nice for Amelia. So that's the rip entry we've been talking about.
Well, she's got some good supports and she's got some good scores too, Liam.
Yeah, she'll be happy with that.
She's got an 8.5 and 2 8s. It's a pretty good score there for Amelia Judkins. Dana Anderson. Cambridge High School. Back dive with a tuck of 1.5 degree difficulty.
Yeah, so another back dive here. So we've seen 3 of these now, and I would say that's probably the best one so far. She was nice and her body was squeezed really tight, so sometimes you'll see the divers are a little bit relaxed on the entry and the judges would deduct from that. That one she's nice and straight and pretty minimal splash. 6.5 is pretty good on that.
Elizabeth Dearden is next up from Columba College in Dunedin. And inward dive with a tuck of 1.4 again.
Yeah, so the inward dive, so she's done a nice tuck there. She's again gone slightly far away from the board. So that's why we've seen that 5.5 there. A couple of 6s and a 7. So the judges are sitting in slightly different places. They're all next to each other, so sometimes they get a slightly different angle of the dive and they might see something that someone else didn't.
Here's Ivy Root from Pinehurst. She's attempting a back dive piked.
So another back dive. Ivy's done it in pike this time instead of tuck, and she's done a good job off the board, but she's landed a little bit short, as we say. So she's under-rotated, so that's why you see that 4.5 and the 5s there.
We've got a couple of dives now with a high degree of difficulty. This is Isabella Vukic, 2.2. Inward 1.5 somersaults with a tuck is what she's attempting off the 5-metre platform.
Yeah, so this is that inward again. She's going to be spinning forwards, back towards the board. That's pretty good from Izzy there.
Oh, she's got a 5.
She had slightly bent legs on the entry. I don't know if you would have noticed that. So the judges would have just marked down slightly off that, but the 6s are pretty good there for Izzy.
Now Hannah Atchison from Hamilton Girls, back 1.5 somersaults piked. This is a degree of difficulty of 2.3, the highest in this round.
Yes, so we haven't seen this yet. We've seen some back dives. We haven't seen a back 1.5 yet. So she'll be spinning 1.5 times around in a pike position as we see here. And she hasn't quite made it, so she's under-rotated. So the judges will be looking for how high she's finishing the dive above the water, and is she landing in a vertical position, and she was just slightly under-rotated there, so that's why you've seen those 4s.
Yes, 2 4s and a 4.5. Scarlett Robb now with from St Cuthbert's. Forward line up with a tuck off the 3-metre board.
So another one from the sitting position, this time in tuck. So judges will be looking for a nice straight position on the water and a nice small splash, and Scarlett's done a great job on that. I think she'll receive, 7, 7.5.
Yep. 6.5 score, 2 7s. Scarlett Robb, pretty good. I mean, her degree of difficulty on her 2 dives so far is quite low, but she scored actually quite well. Yeah,
so that's where you've got a lower degree of difficulty. You'll be looking to get higher marks.
Well, Zoe Atkinson,
Zoe's done a similar dive there. Another line up, and you'll notice she's over-rotated this time, so she's sort of splashed the water with her back on this, and that's why she's received the 4.5s and 4s.
Yeah, 2 4.5s and 4. 2 to go in the second round. Bella Potter here from Waikato Diocesan. She's attempting forward 1.5 somersaults with a tuck, 1.6. So she can get a good score here.
So starting to see some bigger dives. So 1.5 rotations this time forwards. So she's landed in a nice straight position on the water. So she's managed to finish all the rotations to the judges' satisfaction, and that's why they've rewarded her with some 6.5s.
And the last diver is Hannah Rutherford from Albany Junior High School. This is coming to the end of round 2, folks, of 6. Hope you're enjoying the coverage. These are the New Zealand Secondary Schools Diving Championships. We're in the junior section.
And here's another lineup from Hannah, and that's excellent. So Hannah's landed nice and vertical. She's kicked up a tiny little bit of splash, but I think 7s is well deserved on that.
Yeah, 2 7s and a 6.5. And now we are into round 3. Corey Sanders is next up with his 3rd dive. And here he goes.
So a front somersault from Corey.
Yeah, forward somersault with a tuck that was.
So he's finished the dive, and he's landed vertically. He's landed a little bit far away from the board. So the judges will deduct from that a little bit. I'm expecting to see 5.5s on this. There's a little
delay with the score.
4s, yeah. So they've deducted quite a bit on the basis that he was far away from the board. Another thing to add is he landed with his arms above his head. So
okay. Abraham Lee. This is a significant step up for him. I know you rate him very highly. He's attempting a dive here from the 7.5 metre board forward, 2.5 somersaults, degree of difficulty 2.4.
This is the biggest dive we've seen so far. So, oh wow, that's great from Abraham. So he's done 2.5 somersaults in pike position. That's pretty difficult. And he's way up there at 7.5 metres. And he's landed nice and vertical. He's got nice straight legs in that pike. He's kicked up a tiny bit of splash.
Well, he's going to score significantly.
But he scored great on that. So that's 7.5, and with a high degree of difficulty.
Yep, he's gone big there.
That's going to reward him really well.
Next up is Natalia Wilcox as we go back to the junior girls.
And again, another forward line-up tuck. So she's starting in a sort of a ball on the board, a tuck position. She's rolling, and then the judges are looking for her to kick her legs out straight and land vertical on the water with minimal splash.
Here's Jamie Ramsey. Similar dive. Sorry, Liam. Similar dive to her last effort. Forward somersault with a tuck.
It's going to explain. The divers will grab their hands. Obviously, in this case, Jamie's landing on her feet. So we saw that dive from Corey. And she's landed closer to the board. And I was explaining, Corey landed with his arms above his head. Which in diving on a feet first entry means a maximum of 4.5 from the judges, so that's why Jamie's scored a bit higher there.
Lucia Luxon is next up from St Hilda's Collegiate. Forward 1.5 somersaults with a tuck.
Yeah, I'm impressed with that. That's really good. I was explaining the divers will grab their hands in a certain way so that they've got a flat hand on the water, and they'll sort of dig a little hole into the water and try and get their bodies through that hole. And that's how they enter the water with no splash. All
right, we're on to Grace Campbell again, one of the favourites. She scored heavily in her 2 dives so far, and the degree of difficulty is
2.5 somersaults.
Yeah, forward 2.5 somersaults with a tuck there. Geez, they're going through them too quick.
They are speeding through this. 2.4, and she's 6s on that, so that's really good from Grace.
Bella Meek Malum is next. Reverse dive with a tuck. Degree difficulty 1.6.
And Bella's just landed. She's under-rotated on that, so she's landed, kicked up a bit of splash from her back. So the judges will deduct on that.
And she scored 4.5, 5 and 5.
Nice height off the board there, though, so she's received a bit of credit for that.
Now we're back to Zoe Taylor again from Albany Junior High School. Backward line up straight. 1 metre. For springboard. So
Zoe's done a back line up straight, so the judges will be looking for her to stay in that straight position, not bending her back too much, which she hasn't done. She's not really made any splash, so she's been rewarded there with a couple of 7s.
Elena Volkov of Takapuna Grammar. 1.5 degree of difficulty for this one, the inward dive piked.
So the judges will be looking for straight legs on this, and she's done that. That's a great dive from Eleanor.
Very solid. She scored 7s there.
Yeah.
3
she landed
7s.
Nice and vertically. Had a nice pike.
Now Amelia Judkins up to the 5 metre platform. She's starting.
So this is a
handstand somersault.
Yeah, so that's the first handstand we've seen. So handstand's an interesting one. The judges will be looking for her to show control of the handstand. So if she's going to kick up, she's going to hold it for a little bit, then she's going to come around, and then they'll judge it like a normal dive, where they'll be looking for her to land in a vertical position. So she's done a good job there. The judges probably would have liked her to hold it for a little bit longer.
Dana Anderson of Cambridge. Of course, there's a lot of gymnastics kind of component to diving, isn't there?
There absolutely is. Yeah, we do a lot of similar gymnastic type training, so we'll do lots of somersaults onto mats and trampoline and things like that, and obviously handstands, and that all translates into the diving pool here. So all these divers are very fit and strong as well.
Elizabeth Dearden.
So we've seen a back dive straight, so she's got to stay in that straight position, which she's done a good job of. We haven't seen that yet, so She's jumping up high, staying in that straight position and landing on the water.
Ivy Root is next. Pinehurst. Forward 1.5 somersaults from the 3 metre springboard with a tuck.
Good from Ivy. She's shown us a nice small tuck there, so she's spun quite fast on that. She hasn't jumped too high, but she's landed on the water vertically, so she's been rewarded for that with some sixes.
Yes, 3 sixes. Now we're up to Isabella Vukic. Howick College. Forward dive pike to 3 metre springboard.
That's great from Izzy. That was a really nice pike, so she had her chest close to her legs and straight legs as well, and she was vertical on the water, so 7s as well deserved there.
Now Hannah Atchison is going big here with forward 2.5 somersaults with a tuck off the 3 metre springboard. Degree of difficulty of 2.2, significantly higher than her last dive. She can nail this one.
Yeah, good effort there from Hannah. She's not quite finished the rotation, so she's landed a little bit short, as we say in diving. But she's still got a lot of height there and showed a nice tuck, so 5s is well deserved.
And good to see confidence from those, from you know, we're only
Yes.
talking junior divers here, Liam. Got to give it a crack sometimes.
Exactly, yeah, and 2.5 is a big dive. That's a lot of rotations to fit around from a 3 metre board. So good effort there from Hannah.
Scarlett Robb, forward line up piked from the 3 metre board. I think this is the same dive she did last time.
So she did it in a tuck.
Tuck.
She's now doing it in a pike. So they'll be looking for straight legs. And another great one there from Scarlett. So a low degree of difficulty, but she's nailing them. So she's still going to receive some pretty good scores.
She's been, well, she got a 9
So
there.
an outlier 9 there, but I can sort of see why they've decided to give that. It was pretty nice through the air, a nice pike. I think 7.5s will be her average.
Well, unfortunately, the 9 will be discarded because
Yes,
it
it
was
will
the highest. But
be.
that was the first 9 we've seen.
It is, so that's
Yeah.
exciting. The judges are warming up.
Pinehurst's Zoe Atkinson. Backward line up straight from the 5 metre.
Yeah, so that was a nice start from Zoe. She over-rotated slightly, and she sort of piked, so she bented her hips a little bit, so she didn't quite stay in a straight position. So she would have just been deducted from that slightly.
Bella Potter, 1.4 degree of difficulty is the next diver. Inward dive piked. Potter from Waikato Diocesan.
So another inward dive. So again, they'll be looking for straight legs. Small shape, as we say. So, you know, looking for her chest to be sort of touching her legs if she can. Yeah, not bad
Nicely
there.
done.
Nice and vertical on the entry. 6.5s.
Yep, and a 6 there for Potter and Rutherford now. Hannah Rutherford to complete the 3rd rotation. This will mean we're halfway through the competition in the juniors at the New Zealand Secondary Schools Diving Championships.
So Hannah's doing a back line up. She'll be doing this on the 3 metre coming up later in her dive list as well. You'll notice she's had her legs apart a little bit on that, so the judges may or may not have seen that. The judges will be sitting from the side, so sometimes they won't notice if your legs are apart a little bit, but if they do notice, they will deduct points.
All right, we're back to the top of the boys again. Corey Saunders rather, is next up.
And Corey's jumped on the wrong board, so he's quickly realised.
Albany Junior High School. He's up to the 3 metre springboard for a forward dive with a tuck.
Well, he's done a good job composing himself for that little mistake. It's actually a pretty good dive from Corey.
To 3 5.5s. Now we move to Abraham Lee. This dive here, 2.7. This is the highest degree of difficulty we've seen in the competition so far. Inward 2.5 somersaults with a tuck.
Yeah, so this is a pretty spectacular dive, really. He's going to be doing 2.5 somersaults, which we have seen, but we haven't seen it in the inward direction. So he's going to be spinning back towards that platform. Oh, and he's nailed it. That's awesome. So He's done a great job there. He's finished the rotations nice and high. He's had time to come out nice and early and nail that entry, and he's received 8.5, so that's massive off a high degree of difficulty.
That would just about be the best dive we've seen so far.
That is, yes, by far actually. That's really good from Abraham. He's been competing in the Nationals over the weekend, and he's now here at the Secondary School Nationals and continuing to show his promise.
That's really good. We're keeping an eye on Abraham Lee. This is Natalia Wilcox. Backward line up straight off the 3 metre. Yeah,
so Natalia's just over-rotated, as you'll see, so she's kicked up quite a bit of splash. She still received 5, so that's probably because she started off really well. It's just the entry that went a bit AWOL.
The leading contenders so far in the girls' competition, Grace Campbell from Westlake. Also Hannah Atchison. Both of those divers will go for dives of over 2 degree difficulty. That was Jamie Ramsey.
Jamie with another forward line up hiked, and pretty good. She had nice straight legs. She just rotated slightly, so that's why she's just been deducted a little bit. 5.5 is not a bad effort.
Lucia Luxton. Back somersault with a tuck this dive.
Yeah, so another feet first entry. And she's done a pretty good job on that. The judges liked it. 6s, 1-7.
Indeed, yes. Grace Campbell now, here we are. Inward 1.5 somersaults with a tuck. Just off the 1 metre. 2.2 degree of difficulty. She scored heavily so far. All 3 of her dives so far to this point have been higher than a 2 degree difficulty.
That's good from Grace. Another junior coming through the ranks.
3 6.5 she scored.
Pretty good height there off the board and finished the dive well above the water. She's been rewarded.
Bellamy Malum. Columba College in Dunedin. Inward dive with a tuck.
So the same direction that we just saw from Grace, but she was doing a dive. Grace was doing a 1.5. And so that 4.5, I think they would have seen that she's slightly twisted there and jumped a little bit sideways, but the other judges obviously didn't see that because the rest of the dive was actually pretty good.
Zoe Taylor, Albany Junior High School. Forward dive with a tuck.
And that's great from Zoe. She'll be pleased with that. She's a little bit far away from the board, so that's maybe why she didn't quite get the 7s, but the other components of the dive were really good.
Yeah, 3 6s for Zoe Taylor. So that's a score of 18. Then you multiply it by the degree of difficulty, and then you get the score. Elena Volkov. Inward somersault with a tuck. Volkov from Takapuna Grammar. Feet first entry.
Yeah, and that's good effort. You'll notice she's landed with her arms by her side, which the judges will be looking for as well. They don't want them to be above her head.
Well, 3 5.5s for her. Amelia Junkins, slightly higher degree of difficulty here. She's at 1.8 with a back dive piked from the 3 metre springboard.
Oh, that's unfortunate from Amelia. I've seen her do that really, really well before. Another junior coming through. She's shown us a really nice pike shape. You see there, she's touched her toes, but she just hasn't quite given it enough rotation, which the judges have deducted from.
Dana Anderson, inward dive, piked. Good shot there of the concentration that each of these divers is going through.
That's good from Dana. You see she's landed vertical on that one. I talked about how Amelia under-rotated and she's landed bang on vertical there, so she's been rewarded.
Elizabeth Dearden is next up with a forward line-up with a tuck.
So you'll notice she's going to start from sitting down on the board in a tuck position.
This is round 4 of 6 in the juniors.
And that's great from Elizabeth. Judges are looking for a small splash, vertical on the entry. She's gone slightly over rotation, but pretty good really, 6s.
Yep, 3 6s for her. Ivy root. Reverse dive with a tuck. Pinehurst School.
Okay, so Ivy, she's jumped nice and high and she's shown us a good tuck, but she's just not given it enough rotation, so she's landed slightly on her back, and that's why the judges have given her 4s on that.
Isabella Vukic. Degree of difficulty not quite as high as her last dive. This is 1.8 back dive piked. She did a 2.2 degree difficulty dive in round 3, but if she can nail this, she'll score big.
Yeah, and I'd expect her to, which she's done. She's kicked up a tiny bit of splash, but she's shown a great height position.
Yes,
she's landed nice and vertical.
7 and 2 6.5s for her.
I think she'll be pleased with that.
Now Hannah Atchison. She's been ambitious with the dives. Some of them have been okay. And let's see how she goes with a back 1.5 somersaults with half a twist. From the 3 metre springboard, 2.0 the degree of difficulty here.
Yeah, so good job there from Hannah. She's again another twisting dive, which we haven't seen too many of yet. I think we'll see more coming up. She's slightly landed short of vertical. You'll notice, but through the air it was pretty nice. 5.5 and 6s.
Now here's Scarlett Robb from St Cuthbert's again. Now her dives haven't had a high degree of difficulty, but she's executed them very well to date.
She has, yes.
Forward dive with a tuck here at 1.2.
And she's done pretty good there too. She went nice and high. She's landed really close to the board as well, which the judges will be pleased to see. She's over-rotated slightly, but they have rewarded her.
Zoe Atkinson, backward line up with a tuck. She's off the 5 metre board here.
That's good from Zoe. She started in a tuck. She'll kick out to straight, which was the term we use in diving. She's landed slightly short of vertical. But 5s are pretty good there.
Bella Potter, reverse dive piked. Similar degree of difficulty to her last 3 dives. Almost at the end of round 4 now, 6. And the junior girls and boys.
Okay, so Bella's landed nice and vertical, which the judges will like. She had her knees slightly bent in her pike, and that's why you'll see they've deducted. That's where that 4's come from, and the 5s.
Hannah Rutherford, backward line up straight dive off the 3 metre, and this will complete round 4. Lemming will only have 2 rounds to go. Then after that, we'll be able to tell you who's won.
Yes. Yeah, there's been some good dives so far. I expect some more to come in the last 2 rounds. So Hannah did this on the 1 metre in the last round. And she's done a pretty similar job on the 3 metre there. She's slightly short of vertical, but in a nice straight position. So 6s.
3 6s she scored. Well, there are the judges. No pressure, guys. We're moving to round 5 now. Just the 2 lads in the boys section. Corey Saunders of Albany Junior High School. There he goes with an inward dive with a tuck.
Well, that's pretty good from Corey. I think he'll be pleased with the 5.5s on that.
Now
He's kicked up a little bit of splash, but...
And we go back to Abraham Lee from Elam Christian College, whose last dive was spectacular. This time he's attempting a forward 2.5 somersaults pike dive off the 3 metre springboard.
Yeah, nice from Abraham. So we saw him do that earlier in the competition off the 7 metre. He's now doing it off the 3 metre. And he's still received good scores. He's landed slightly short of vertical. So you'll see here Just lands slightly, doesn't quite finish the rotations, but everything else is really nice, straight legs, and he's been rewarded.
So Lee, that was a degree of difficulty 2.4, that one. So he's continuing to test himself.
Yeah.
Which is important, isn't it?
It is, yep. And he's had a great campaign at the Nationals over the weekend. And continuing it here. Natasha has just done a back line up tuck there and over-rotated, unfortunately. She's kicked out nice and strong. So you'll see here she kicks out fast, but she just lands a little bit on his stomach, kicking up some splash.
So Jamie Ramsey we move to now from Albany Junior High School with her 5th dive. Forward dive with a tuck, 1.4 degree of difficulty. She's from the school which seems to be well represented this year too, Liam.
Yeah, so Albany Junior High is actually the school that I went to as well. So there's a little bit of diving history there, and yeah, they love diving there. And Jamie's been diving for a little while now, and done a good job on that last dive, front dive tuck she did.
Lucia Luxton. Yeah, in fact, we could tell you that after the synchro, which was held earlier, there is actually a schools competition, combined competition with the schools and Albany Junior Senior High lead after the
nice dive
the
there.
synchro. Yeah, that was solid from Luxton, wasn't
Yes,
it?
it was, yeah.
Okay, Grace Campbell. Back 1.5 somersaults with a tuck. One of the leading contenders in the junior category from Westlake Girls. Not much splash there, Liam.
No, so you hear the crowd cheering. So Grace has done a pretty good job on that back 1.5 in a tuck position, and she's landed in a nice vertical position.
Yeah, an 8 on the scorecard there.
Yeah, great. She'll be pleased with that.
Scores that will count, though, will be 2 7s and a 7.5. Still pretty decent.
Yeah, really decent. Again, the highest and the lowest score from the 5 judges get knocked off.
Yep, and the 3 that stay get multiplied by the degree of difficulty. Hope you're getting a good vibe of the New Zealand Secondary Schools Diving Championships from us here at the West Wave Aquatic Centre in Auckland. For 2020, Bella-Meek Malum up there now.
Dive half twist. So Bella has actually over twisted here. So I think the judges are going to deduct, yeah, so they've given her 3s. So she landed quite vertical, but she was over twisted.
It's a brutal sport, isn't it? Because if you just make one
It
slight
certainly
mistake, Liam, gee, there's a heavy price to pay, isn't there?
Yeah, and there's no, there's no second chances either. So
Zoe Taylor, Albany Junior High School. There's a forward dive with a tuck.
yeah, so Zoe did this off the 1 metre earlier, and she's done it off the 3. She's over rotated slightly, which is why she's received the 5s. See there, just goes onto her back a little bit.
This is Alena Volkov. Forward 1.5 somersaults with a tuck, 1.6.
Oh, great from Elena. She's not kicked up much splash there at all. She was a little bit far away from the board, so that's why the judges haven't given her the 7s. She didn't go super high, but she had a great entry.
Amelia Judkins, Western Springs College. Inward 1.5 somersaults with a tuck, 1.9 degree of difficulty.
Yeah, and that's good from Amelia. She's done nice work in the air. She's shown the judges how easy it is for her by, you'll notice she does her tuck in and she does what we call a pike out. So she straightens her legs, then comes out into a straight position. Kicked up a tiny bit of splash, but pretty good overall.
Now Dana with a handstand dive, somersault with a tuck. So the judge is looking for control of the handstand.
They are, yeah, and she's not quite shown it there. It's a nice dive. So she's done a great job in the air and through the water, but she's not held the handstand for too long. So that's why they haven't quite given her the 7s, but 6s are still pretty good.
Yeah, 1.5 degree difficulty. Elizabeth Dearden now, backward line up straight dive from the 3 metre springboard.
It's not easy doing a handstand that high up either.
Tell me about it. Some of us struggle to do handstands full stop, Liam. Here is Elizabeth Dearden.
And she's nailed that actually. So she's nice and straight. She hasn't quite shown us the rip entry, but she has shown a clean entry, so not much splash.
Well, that was her best dive, actually. From Darren, she'll be happy. I think I saw a smile on her face from this distance when she got out of the pool.
That's great to see as well, isn't it?
Ivy Root from Pinehurst. Forward 1.5 somersaults with a tuck.
Wow, I'm very impressed with that from Ivy. She's jumped really high. You'll notice she's got a nice tight tuck, small position. There in the air, and then bang, she's nailed the entry as well. She'll be really pleased with that.
Well, that's scored a lot. That's a lot heavier scoring from her compared with her earlier dives, which is good too. Now we're on to Isabella Vukic of Howick. Nice inward pike dive.
Yeah, she's shown us a nice pike. She was doing that better in the warm-ups earlier. So she'll still get the sixes, which is good. She just slightly under-rotated.
Now Hannah Atchison. She want to nail one of these ones, Liam. Inward 1.5 somersaults with a tuck. Degree of difficulty 1.9. And she's off the 7.5 metre.
So 1.9. So if she nails this, it's going to really pay off for her. And she has done as well. Bit of splash there, but she has landed in a nice vertical position. So the judges will go with her on that. And they have done 5.5 and 6s.
But she'll score higher than similar divers because the degree of difficulty is higher. Now Scarlett Robb with her toughest dive of the competition so far. Back dive with a tuck.
Yeah, and again from Scarlett, she had great entries today, so she's not shown us much splash at all, which is great. And that's why the judges are rewarded there with 6.5 and a 7. She was a little bit far away from the board, which is why the others didn't give her 7s.
Here's Zoe Atkinson from Pinehurst. We're getting near the end of the 5th round of 6 now in the juniors here at the West Wave Aquatic Centre.
Yeah, and I'd say that's Zoe's best dive of the competition so far. 6.5 off a little bit of a higher degree of difficulty as well, so that's going to work in her favour.
Good energy on the board for Atkinson. Now Bella Potter. She goes to the 5 metre platform for an inward dive with a tuck.
So the judges will be looking for a rip entry, as I've been talking about. But she hasn't quite shown. I'll tell you what, it's not easy standing up there jumping backwards either. She's done a pretty good job. She's just kicked up a bit of splash. As you'll see, her head's out there and then it's just kicked up a bit of splash.
And finally it's Hannah Rutherford, the last diver on the list. And then we will go to round 6. It's a forward dive with a tuck.
Yeah, and I think Hannah will be pleased with that. She's again landed slightly short of vertical and a little bit far away from the board, which is the reason for the 5.5s.
Well, we've got the round 6 to come. Don't forget we have the intermediate section to come soon. We've got 2 boys and 12 girls in that. 7 dives they'll do in the intermediates, and we'll have 8 dives in the seniors to look forward to as well. Coming a little bit later here. There goes Corey Saunders with his last dive, a back dive, straight.
Yeah. And maybe his best one as well. He's landed nice and vertical, hasn't shown much splash at all. He did have his legs apart slightly, which if the judges saw, they might deduct. But if they haven't seen that, they'll go with him.
Well, Abraham Lee, back 1.5 somersaults with half a twist from the 3 metre. This will complete his competition. And here he goes, Abraham Lee. Degree of difficulty of 2 there. So not the hardest dive he's attempted today.
No, it's not, and it's not his best either. You'll see he's actually jumped a little bit sideways, you'll see. Yeah, and then he doesn't quite finish the rotation, so a bit of an AWOL entry there. So but a pretty good competition for Abraham overall. We saw some great dives from him.
Natalia Wilcox of St Cuthbert's College in Auckland with a forward dive with a tuck.
Yeah, and a good finish for Natalia as well. She had a few entries that were going over a vertical earlier, but she's managed to get that one really good, and that's a high degree of difficulty as well.
So Jamie Ramsey now of Albany Junior High School. Up she goes to the 5 metre platform, and she's going to have a crack at a forward line-up dive.
Yeah, so again, the judges are looking for a nice vertical entry, as we'd say. She's just over-rotated slightly. She was nice and straight, but that over-rotation is the reason judges have deducted. You see there, just slightly goes over with their legs.
It's not much in it, is it?
It's minimal. It's really minimal, but like you said before, it's brutal. Small mistakes.
Now Luxton of St Hilda's Collegiate in Dunedin. That was a forward somersault, piked.
Yeah, with a pike. So she did a good job with keeping her legs straight. There's a 7 and then a 5.5. So one of the judges quite liked that. One of them probably deducted on the basis that her chest wasn't quite touching her legs in her pike. So a bit of an open shape, as we'd say in diving.
Now Grace Campbell, who's, we think, the leader, her last dive from Westlake Girls High School. Forward 2.5 somersaults with a tuck, 2.2 degree difficulty.
Yeah, and pretty good from Grace. That's a lot of spins to get through in that small 3 metres. She's slightly gone over. So judges will deduct. Just there, she's slightly kicked up with a splash, but based on that degree of difficulty, she'll still get some pretty high points.
Well, that's right, 3 5.5s it was, 2.2. So Jamie Ramsey, for instance, also scored 3 5.5s a moment ago, but her degree of difficulty was only 1.
Exactly, so that's the difference.
That's where Grace Campbell gets double the amount of points.
Yeah, correct. And we saw a similar dive there
from Bellameek Mellon.
And going over as well, like Grace did, but she's actually gone a little bit more over than Grace did, which is why she's received the 5s, whereas Grace received 5.5s.
Zoe Taylor, forward somersault with a tuck. She want to finish nice and strong here.
Yeah, and good from Zoe. She's landed in a nice vertical position. I think she could have jumped a little bit higher on that, so the judges may deduct. I'm expecting to see 5.5s. Yeah.
You could be a judge, Liam. Probably have been many times.
Yes. I was doing some judging earlier in the weekend in the New Zealand Nationals, and now we're here at the Secondary School Nationals, and some of the divers have been diving a weekend already, so it's great to see them still performing some great dives after 4 days of competition.
Elena Volkov of Takapuna. That was a back somersault with a tuck, and the Nationals went good over the last few days?
Yes, they went really well. There was some... so Eleanor's received some... So she just landed slightly short of vertical, which is why the 5s and the 4s. Yeah, there was some great diving over the weekend. Obviously great to see people taking some national titles, and great to just be able to be in a position to have a Nationals. There's lots of countries around the world that, can't even compete or anything at the moment, so it was awesome to see everyone together and competing.
And that's a good point you've raised. I mean, in a way where, as we watch Amelia Judkins here with one of her better dives.
Yeah, she'll be happy with that.
Which was a backward somersault with a half twist. So a couple of 6s there for Amelia Judkins. And you're right, it's great. I think it's a great achievement for Diving New Zealand to get through the Labour weekend schedule.
It really is, yeah. And there's actually some sports that haven't been able to hold a Nationals this year, even in New Zealand. So we're really, really pleased and proud of effort from a lot of people making this happen.
Dana Anderson of Cambridge High School, forward 1.5 somersaults pike there, and she scored 3 5s with that dive.
Yeah, so you would have seen again, so nice jump there. Good pike position, but she's just over-rotated and her legs have gone over, and that's the splash. So that's the reason for the deduction.
Elizabeth Dearden from Columba College in Dunedin. Forward line-up piked from the 5 metre height.
And that's pretty good from Elizabeth. She's nice and vertical. A little bit of splash, so there'll be deduction for that, but 6s are good. I think she'll be pleased with that.
Yeah, 2 6s and a 5 and a half. Which is good for Dearden. So we have 7 dives left in the junior category. Next up is Ivy Root from Pinehurst School.
So we saw Ivy do this dive from...
That's Lydia Coe's old school, by the way. Pinehurst
Oh,
School.
well, there we go, yes. Yes, some great athletes from there. Ivy's another one that's been up and coming, and that's awesome for her. She did that dive earlier off the 1 metre and landed quite short of vertical, but she's done a much better effort there, and 5.5. You'll see her legs are just a little bit bent and apart there, so that's why the judges have deducted a little bit.
Good confident dive though from her. Isabella Vukic of Howick. Forward dive piked off the 1 metre, and that's Vukic scoring.
Yeah, so 6s.
3 6s.
She'll be happy with that. I have seen her do that better, but she's done a pretty good job there in competition. It can be quite a whole different mental game in competition and diving, well, in anything really, eh?
Indeed. Hamilton Girls High School's Hannah Atchison on the 7.5 metre platform now. Forward 1.5 somersaults, 1 twist in there as well.
So that's a big dive off a high board as well. 7.5 metres. She's got a whole 1.5 somersaults and a full twist to get through. So she's done a good job. Her feet have come apart in the middle there. You'll see that. She's then slightly short of vertical, but she will be rewarded based on the fact that that's a higher degree of difficulty.
There's so many elements to diving, isn't there, folks? Everything is analysed with a fine-tooth comb. Scarlett Robbs from Cuthbert's College. Forward somersault with a tuck.
Yeah, and I'd say that's probably Scarlett's best dive. We were saying before, she's had some lower degree of difficulties, but really been nailing them. So that's been really cool to see. She hasn't been diving for too long.
Actually, she's a very good athlete as well. Good runner, good swimmer.
Yes. So she's got a lot of potential and a lot of talent. Interesting to see how she goes over the years.
Zoe Atkinson, Bella Potter and Hannah Rutherford to complete the juniors category. As we look at Atkinson now, backward line-up, straight dive. She's attempting off the 3 metre height.
So she's done well. She's slightly gone over-rotated. Just to explain as well, we saw at the very start of the round that Corey did that dive without the jump. And I don't know if the scores came up, but that's why he received some zeros based on the fact that he didn't do the jump, whereas Zoe's done the jump, so she's been rewarded for that.
Aha. Thank you for the explanation. Bella Potter. Arm stand, somersault with a tuck. It's good effort from Bella Potter.
Yeah, it is. Again, it's not easy going up there and doing a handstand, and she's done a good job. She hasn't held it, so that's why the judges have deducted. The rest of the dive was pretty good.
And lastly, it's Hannah Rutherford again, and she's going to have a forward somersault with a tuck.
And that's great from Hannah. Nice and vertical, small splash as well, which is hard to do on a feet first entry. And she went quite high off the board as well, so the judges have rewarded her on that.
Well, congratulations to all the juniors who have competed here. We've had 19 divers, 17 girls and 2 boys go at it. And we've got a good little crowd here as well here at the West Wave Aquatic Centre. We'll get those results for you as soon as they become available. But Grace Campbell looks like she has been one to watch, and Abraham Lee, of course, in the boys. They seem to be the 2 standouts, don't they?
Yeah, it was awesome to see them do some great dives in there, actually. Some off the 7 metre, which, well, at any age it's not easy going up there, but certainly for the juniors, to see them doing some of those big dives at such an age is pretty cool, and doing them well. We saw some 8s there.
Yeah, it's been exciting, hasn't it, to see.
So what we're seeing now, as I was explaining before, Corey
is going to do that last dive again.
I believe there may have been some confusion, so it looks like he's going to be given a re-dive on it. So this doesn't normally happen, but there was obviously a bit of confusion.
So he's going to attempt the round 6 dive again, the back dive straight.
So you see he's jumped on that one. So that's what the judges wanted to see, and he's done a good job on that. So that's awesome that Corey got to have another crack at that.
Well, it's always better to have 5s, 6s on your scorecard than 0s. So well done
exactly.
to Corey.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
So excellent effort there from Corey Saunders from Albany Junior High School, who was allowed to do that dive again. So we're standing by for the results of the juniors, and then we'll move on to the intermediate girls and intermediate boys. 13, in fact we've got 12 girls and 2 boys competing in this section, and then later on we will have the seniors. We'll have 2 boys and 2 girls in that, and that is when we will see that competition. So stay with us here. I hope you're enjoying the New Zealand Secondary Schools Diving Championships. We can actually take a look now at the intermediate girls lineup, and here are the first 7 divers out of that list of 7 there. Liam, which one kind of which names kind of stick out at you right there?
Yeah, well, right there, diver number 3, Holly Winchester. She's been competing over the weekend, and won the women's open platform. So that's a senior event. Holly actually had a bit of time away from diving last year, and she's come back and she's worked really hard to prove herself and get to a point where she's just taken, a senior national title, and she's still at intermediate school. So
wow.
So that's pretty cool. I can see Riley Oxenham. I've actually coached her a little bit in the past, and she's certainly one to watch. A lot of talent. Well, it'll be interesting to see how she does today.
All right, so there are the first 7 of the divers in the competition, and then we've got the 2 boys there as well. We'll get to those boys in just a minute. Josiah and Caleb Young. So Josiah Kaushal of Henderson High School, just around the corner here from where we are, and Caleb Young from Linfield College. So we're talking, mid-teens is where we are for the intermediate section for the diving, and then we've got the seniors coming up a little bit later on. So Holly Winchester, one to keep your eye on. In fact, 2 girls from Westlake Girls High School competing. Caitlin Villiern is the other one.
And Caitlin's got some great stuff to show as well, so I'm excited to see what she can do. There's a lot of, Amber, and they're all good divers here, so it should be a good competition. Rhiannon Marriott has just been competing over the weekend as well, and shown some real promise, so she might be one to watch. Might be some good dives from her.
So here are the divers. There's Caitlin Villiern, Holly Winchester. There she is, Holly, and now we move to the next dive. That's Jessie Tate from Kristen School, also on the North Shore at Albany. Chloe Warwick from Hamilton Girls.
Yeah, great to see people from all over the country.
Riley Oxenham from Albany Junior High School. Amber McDougall from Northcote. Most of these girls from Auckland schools. Olivia Fox from Albany Junior High School. Albany Senior High School's Gianna Hurlembang. Is Green Bay High School's Alice Sherson. Another one from Northcote College, Rhiannon Marriott, and Bree Ackland. She looks like she's a bit of a character.
She certainly is. She's got a lot of energy, Bree, and I know she's been excited about this event, and she's got some stuff to show as well.
And now the 2 boys, Josiah Koshal of Henderson High School and Caleb Young of Linfield College it's near Hillsborough, isn't it, Linfield College? Here are the 2 boys that'll be competing, Josiah Koshal and Caleb Young. Looking forward to seeing these 2 lads in action in just a moment. Just been handed to the results in the juniors, which we've just enjoyed. I can tell you that Abraham Lee's total score of 258.3 saw him win the boys title. So congratulations to Abraham Lee, Elam Christian College out of Botany, and Corey Saunders finishing in second place. And it was a clear win for Grace Campbell, as we thought, from Westlake Girls. Her final score 249.65. Second, congratulations to Amelia Judkins of Western Springs, 200.85, and Hannah Atchison of Hamilton Girls finished in third place, 189.25 points. So those are the top 3 in the juniors. So well done to all of those three.
Yeah, and that doesn't surprise me. I mean, we saw some great dives from Grace, and Amelia and Hannah. They were doing some of the bigger dives with the higher degree of difficulty, and obviously it's paid off for them. So so congratulations to them, and some big scores there as well. 249 points from Grace, and then 200 points from Amelia. So she's obviously she's had a great campaign as we saw.
In fact, it was fairly close between third and fourth, wasn't it? So mentioned Hannah Atchison. Just missing out on a medal was Isabella Vukic of Howick, finishing just 2 points, 2.5 points behind Hannah Atchison. So it's a pretty close thing there. And then Dana Anderson of Cambridge High School rounding up the top 5 in the junior girls.
Yeah, so 3 points is not a lot, and that just shows how we can have all these points and get to the point where we're only 3 points apart. So it just shows how the little detail in every dive counts.
It does indeed. And it's just 2.5 points over a 6-round competition.
Yeah.
Oh, if only I'd done that there, I might have picked up half a point on that dive, half a point on that dive.
Yep.
That's how small the margins are, folks, in a sport like diving.
So we're just getting the scores announced to the crowd now, I think.
Yeah, all the scores have been confirmed now for the junior girls and the junior boys. So well done to Grace Campbell and Abraham Lee, and we're looking forward to seeing those divers move through in future years, Liam. I mean, you dived at the Commonwealth Games when you were 17.
Yeah.
So, it's hard work and motivation, discipline from here on in for those kids, isn't it?
Yes, it certainly is, and it's been cool. I've been lucky to watch them for a long time already, and they're still only at a young age. So I look forward to watching them continue to grow and develop in diving, and I expect to see some great things if they choose to continue. They're lucky to be in such a positive environment as well. Auckland here at this facility have some great coaches and great divers, great teammates, so they're in good hands.
Indeed they are. We hope you're enjoying coverage. This is the New Zealand Secondary Schools Diving Championships. Glenn Lamas, my name, got Liam Stone with me, and here are the medals being presented now in the juniors section. Hannah Atchison, that is, getting her bronze medal for finishing in third place. Amelia Judkins of Western Springs finishing in second. Lindsay Stone, the chairman of Diving New Zealand, presenting the medals. And clear winner Grace Campbell from Westlake Girls. That score for her again, just under 250 points.
Yeah, well done, Grace. That was great. Some great diving from all three of those girls.
So there they are, the medalists for the 2020 New Zealand Secondary Schools Junior Girls category. So well done to all three of those divers. And we better talk about your status just before we await the start of the intermediates. Liam, what's your status at the moment? You're still a young man with plenty of years in front of your competitive career. What's your status at the moment?
Yes. So I'm still diving myself. So I'm carrying a little bit of an injury at the moment, although I wouldn't be competing in this anyway, having finished school several years ago now. But I was unfortunate I wasn't able to compete in the nationals that's just been going on the last couple of days over the weekend. But I'm looking forward to being back, hopefully in the new year, and building up to what we hope will be an Olympic Games in 2021.
Absolutely. Well, fingers crossed we can get all the Olympic Games disciplines going next year. But of course, who knows where we are with all that. Now, here's Corey Saunders getting a silver medal.
Yeah, and we saw Corey do his little redive there at the end, which was awesome to see as well.
Yeah, Corey from Albany Junior High School, and Abraham Lee from Elam Christian College in East Auckland gets the bragging rights for 2020.
He certainly does, and well deserved as well. He's shown us some great stuff, and we were talking about him earlier, one to watch, and I think we'll be seeing him more and more in the future.
Yeah, well done to Abraham Lee. Good to see some high degree of difficulty being attempted at such a young age. So let's swing now to the intermediates. We're almost set for a start now. In the intermediate girls category, we've got 12 girls all set to go to boys as well. And the first of the girls up will be Maya Grundy of Christian. But let's just confirm these results. So Abraham Lee from Elan Christian and Corey Saunders, the medalists in the junior boys.
So obviously Albany Junior High, we were talking about there was quite a few divers in that event from Albany Junior High, and each diver here is not only competing for themselves but also competing for their schools, and so based on where they finish in the event they'll receive points for their school, and there'll be a school awarded the overall winner at the end of the competition as well.
Indeed. Now, slight change from the previous category. All of these divers will have 7 dives. In the juniors we had 6, so all of these divers are going to have another dive to do. And let's remind you of the scoring system. We've got 5 judges around the pool. Each will mark a score out of 10. The top score and the bottom score are knocked off. The 3 remaining will be added together and then multiplied by the degree of difficulty. That's how you get your score for each round, and then you just add them all the way through, and the winner is obviously the one with the highest score. It's actually nice, simple.
That's a great, nice, simple way to explain it. Yeah, of course, the complications are how do they get to the scores that the judges are going to give. So there's lots of things they'll be considering when they're watching the dives. They'll be looking at how high the diver is jumping into the air, how nice their shape is in the air, the nice tight tuck or straight legs in a pike, how vertical they are on the water. So are they a little bit short, have under rotated or over rotated, and then of course their splash. So.
And Liam, what about in terms of picking which dives? I mean, there's 7 dives that these competitors each have to do. Generally, talk us through the strategy of the degree of difficulties, because clearly you want to mix it up a little bit. And talk us through what would a normal strategy be? Yeah,
well, so obviously it's sort of a risk-reward process, I suppose. The higher the degree of difficulty, potentially, the more points you can get. But of course, it's harder to do it well. So I suppose the more chance that you're not going to do it well. So you still need to be able to do the dive well for it to pay off. So they'll be thinking about, what's a high degree of difficulty, but also what dive can I do well consistently, because you want to know that you can do it well in competition. We mentioned before that competition brings a whole another mental component to it, so we'll see that here.
So here we go, the intermediate girls. This is Maya Grundy of Christian. Forward line-up pike to start the competition.
So Maya started with a forward line, so she's just falling off the board. She's in a pike position, and she's actually not straightened out fully. So you'll notice she remains in that pike. Her hips are still bent, and she's splashed up a bit of water there with her legs.
Caitlin Viljoen, a forward 1.5 somersaults piked from the 1 metre board.
Yeah, nice from Caitlin. She's super high into the air. Very strong diver, Caitlin, and she's been rewarded for that with some 6.5s and 7s.
Yeah, 3 6.5s for Viljoen. Now Holly Winchester, starting with a forward 1.5 somersaults piked. And she's right at the very top. She's at the 10 metre platform.
Yeah, so this is pretty cool to watch, really. 10 metres is a long way up. And Holly's done a good job there. She's actually under rotated, so that's why she's kicked up that splash. So you'll notice she'll be deducted for that with some 6.5s.
Yeah, exactly the same scores as her compatriot from Westlake. So it'll be Viljoen who will just take a slight advantage. Now we move to Jessie Tate of Kristen. Forward line-up pike dive.
Pretty good entry from Jessie, but you might have noticed that her legs were apart. If the judges have noticed that, they'll deduct. Which I think they have with those 5.5s, because everything else was pretty good.
Now what's the diver doing there with that dial on the side there?
So that's called what we call a fulcrum. So that basically determines how bouncy the springboard is going to be. So the further back the bouncier it's going to be. And you'll notice that as she bounces and jumps into the air.
Yeah, that was Chloe Warwick of Hamilton Girls High School. Forward 1.5 somersaults piked. And she scored 6, 6 and 6.5.
Yeah, which I think she'll be pleased with.
Riley Oxenham from Albany Junior High School. Back dive with a tuck. Took her time, didn't she?
She did, yeah. There's a lot of focus and composure that has to go into it, obviously, and she's done there's a nice tuck there and just slightly short of vertical.
Yeah, 2 6.5s and a 7 there for Riley Oxenham.
It's good for Riley.
Now Amber McDougall from Northcote College. She's going to attempt a forward dive piked.
Yeah, nice from Amber. A nice pike. She had a nice small shape so her chest was very close to her legs. And she had straight legs. She was landed vertical on the entry, and she's been rewarded with a couple 7.5s there.
Absolutely. Good effort there from McDougall. Olivia Fox from Albany Junior High School. In fact, that would probably put Amber McDougall into the lead at this early stage. Remember, this is only the first round of 7.
Yeah, long way to go yet.
Certainly is, as Fox. Another Albany Junior High School diver. Back dive with a tuck.
Yeah, good mates with Riley, who we just saw earlier, and actually doing the same dive, but off the 3 metre and not the 1. And she's done a great job in the air. She's gone super high, but she's just lost it on that entry, unfortunately, which the judges have deducted for. So good in the air there, and then it looks like she lost her hand, so and then she's just kicked up that big splash. So the divers grabbed their hands when entering into the water.
Gianna Hurlenbang of Albany Senior High School now. She's up on the 5 metre platform to attempt a forward line-up piked dive.
Looks like there's been a bit of confusion here. Gianna, I think Gianna's got a bit confused. She was on the 1 metre getting ready to do her dive. She's now running back up to the 5 metre.
Yes, she is.
You see her come out there now.
Here's Gianna.
So she'll compose herself and they'll re-announce the dive.
There it goes.
Yeah, and a good effort. She had a nice pike shape, straight legs, slightly shorter vertical. I think she might receive some 7s here, yeah.
Yeah, 2 7s and a 6.5 for Hallenberg. Now, Alice Sherson of Green Bay High School.
And she's doing a similar dive. She's doing it in the tuck position instead of the pike.
Yeah, forward line up with a tuck. There we go.
And done a similar job, but slightly under-rotated, even more than Gianna was. So that's reflected in the 6s versus the 7s. So you'll see there she's just a little bit short, and there's not much in it, but...
Now we've got Rhiannon Marriott, who's going to attempt the toughest dive in this first round. An arm stand somersault piked, degree of difficulty of 1.8.
A beautiful entry there from Rhiannon. I think the judges will like that. She didn't hold her handstand terribly long. She just has to show that she's in control of it, and I think the judges thought she was, because she's received some 7.5s and 8 there as well. That's primarily from that rip entry, which is what all the divers are trying to do.
Now Bree Ackland from Kristen, the last of the intermediate girls competing. Nice dive there from her. Forward dive piked.
It was good from Bree.
3 6s is the score, Liam.
Yeah, and I think, her work through the air was really good, just kicked up a bit of splash. So that's why she probably hasn't received the 6.5s and 7s. But she should be pleased with 6s on that. Good start for Bree.
Now Josiah Koshal of Henderson High School. In the boys, forward dive with a tuck, 1.2 degree difficulty from the 5 metre platform.
And you'll notice again a bit of splash from Josiah. Looks like he sort of lined up and then just let his legs drop, which you may have seen there, and that's kicked up a lot of splash, so that's why the judges have deducted on that.
And now Caleb Young of Linfield College, inward dive piked 1.5 degree difficulty.
Yeah, that's a good job from Caleb. He had a great nationals as well over the weekend and continuing it now by the looks.
Yeah, very tidy start there for him. 2 7.5s and an 8.5 for
So
Caleb Young.
Good start for Caleb.
And now we're into round 2 of the intermediate girls, and we're back to Maya Grundy. Now she scored, let's have a look here. Yeah, she's doing another dive of
So another lineup.
1.0 degree difficulty.
She's done a better job there than her first dive. Slightly shorter vertical, and actually her feet came apart, so that's what it was that the judges deducted for.
Caitlin Viljoen, back dive piked 1.6 degree difficulty off the 1 metre springboard.
Caitlin had a great first round dive. And a great second round dive, in fact even better. Slightly lower degree of difficulty, but she's done a really good job there. Nice pike position and a great entry, and the judges have rewarded that.
Yeah, 3 7s is the score for Viljoen. Now Winchester, Holly Winchester, she's going to attempt the toughest dive. No, in fact, Rhiannon Marriott will do that later. Winchester back 1.5 somersaults with half a twist.
Way up in the 10 metre again. She nailed this over the weekend. And she's done a pretty good job here again. So she's having to fit in 1.5 somersaults and a half a twist. Well, she's done a really good job on that entry. Great through the air. Just slightly short of vertical, so not that rip entry, but still pretty good, and the judges liked it.
Yes, 2 8s and a 7.5 for Winchester. Jessie Tate, a forward line up with a tuck.
So I believe Jessie has actually only had 2 trainings building up to this competition. She's been recruited by her teammate Bree Ackland. And so that's a pretty good effort for her.
4 and 2 5s for Tates from Kristen. Now Chloe Warwick, Hamilton Girls High School. Back 1.5 somersaults with a tuck off the 1 metre. Degree of difficulty is 2.
So yeah, a little bit over rotated. So you'll see on the start she whips her head back slightly. So if you see, you're watching here, and head goes back, and that's reflected on the entry. Her feet just go over, and she actually twisted slightly as well, which the judges will deduct quite harshly for, unfortunately.
Now to Riley Oxenham, Albany Junior High School. Forward dive piked 1.5 degree difficulty. So the same degree difficulty as the first dive.
Great pike shape there from Riley. Nice straight legs, really good pointed toes, which the judges love to see.
Solid scoring too.
So yeah, really good scoring. So even though she didn't nail that entry, the judges still rewarded her.
3 7s she scored. Amber McDougall, back dive with a tuck. She's from Northcote College. 3 7s in her first dive.
Oh, and it's unfortunate Amber's gone over there, as we'd say, so she's over-rotated. Her legs have splashed on the water. She's done a great job off the board, nice and high. And you'll see there her legs have just gone over-rotated and picked up a bit of splash. And the judges will deduct for that.
Olivia Fox from Albany Junior High School is going to attempt here a reverse dive with a tuck.
So a similar type of dive as to what we just saw Amber do, but in the reverse direction.
She's off the 3 metres. Springboard. And a bit more splashy with it than she would have liked.
Yeah, so she's just not quite rotated enough. So you see she's jumped up high, she's done a nice tuck, she's kicked out, and she's just not quite got her arms back enough actually. So that's what's caused all the splash.
So here is Gianna Hurlenbang again. She's not mucking around with a backward line-up straight dive.
And it's been nice and straight. She just hasn't quite landed on her in a vertical position. So 6s are good. She'd rotated slightly faster, she would have got 7s, I think.
Yeah, 3 6s for Hurlenbang. Now Alice Shershin. Forward line-up pike dive.
Yeah, nice from Alice.
Alice Shershin.
So the judges liked it with a couple 7s there, and she's a nice straight position, slightly under-rotated, but pretty good overall.
Now Rhiannon Marriott, 2.1 degree difficulty here. Inward 1.5 somersaults piked from the 7.5 metre platform.
I saw her absolutely nail this in the training this morning.
One of the leading contenders here today.
And she's done it again. She's done a really good job. Hasn't quite done the rip entry we've been talking about, but I think she'll be happy with 7s.
Yeah, she'll score big though.
She
With
will,
2.1
the
degree.
higher degree of difficulty, yeah.
Yes.
It's good from Rhiannon.
Now the last of the girls is Bree Ackland from Kristen. Back dive with a tuck, 1.7 degree difficulty off the 3 metre springboard.
Nice from Bree. That's a good start for Bree. She's shown us a nice tuck position, nice and high off the board, slightly over-rotated. So her feet sort of just kicked a little bit of a splash up, as you'll see here. Feet just go over a little bit, but pretty good overall.
Now dive number 2 for the boys. Josiah Koshal is going to go with a back dive with a tuck.
So same dive we just saw from Bree, and Josiah's done it from the 5 metre. So the judges will reward him for his jump, which is nice and high. He's just gone a little bit over there on his rotation.
And Caleb Young, forward 1.5 somersaults piked. Sticking with that 1 metre springboard.
He is, it's working for him. He's in a nice pike position there. A little bit under-rotated, so that's where the 6s are coming from. Everything else pretty good though. If he just landed a bit more vertical, I think he would have got some 7s.
So that's 2 of the 7 rounds done. Interesting competition here at the West Wave Aquatic Centre in West Auckland. Round 3 now of the intermediate girls. Maya Grundy starts with a backward line up straight.
And that's unfortunate. She's fallen off the board, so she's failed a dive, unfortunately. So she'll receive 0s for that. Seems to be in good spirits about it, though.
Yeah, it's tough for her, isn't it? So Caitlin Villeneuve now off the 1 metre platform, the springboard rather, with an inward somersault with a tuck.
Yeah, good from Caitlin. It's hard to do a dive with no splash when you're landing feet first, so she's done a good effort. That takeoff's really good, nice and high, nice straight position, a little bit over, but that's pretty good from Caitlin.
Holly Winchester coming down off the 10 metre platform, just 2.5 metres to the 7.5.
Still pretty high, isn't it?
Inward 1.5 somersaults piked.
And she's nailed that. So we saw that from Rhiannon earlier, and I think Holly's done even better there.
Oh yes, great scoring. 8.5, 8 and 8, even a 9 on the scorecard there.
Yeah, so the judges like that, and I like that too. It was excellent through the air, nice and vertical. She kicked up a little bit of splash, but everything else was pretty nice. So that's where those 8s and 9s have come from.
Well, that's 2 good dives from her in a row. Whoops.
So I think what's happened here is Bree Ackland has recruited some teammates from Kristen, and it appears that they haven't actually learnt that dive yet. So
oh dear. Well, Jessie Tate, that was. Chloe Warwick is up on the 3 metre springboard, reverse 1.5 somersaults with a tuck. This one's one to watch too.
yeah, she had a good. Yeah, so that's good from Chloe. She had a good nationals as well, and A reverse 1.5 is not an easy dive. Spinning back towards the board. She's slightly under-rotated, so she kicking up a bit of splash with her back. I think she'll be pleased with 5.5s.
Well, Winchester, Warwick, and Marriott seem to be the three that have locked in their dives at around a 2 to 2.0, 2.1 degree of difficulty.
Yeah, and it's going to pay off for them.
That was Riley Oxenham with a forward dive piked.
Yeah, and we saw that from Riley in the last round actually off the 3 metre, and she's done it off the 5 metre this time and done a similar job really. Nice in the pike, nice legs, but just kicked up some splash.
Amber McDougall is another one. Keep your eye on. Reverse dive with the tuck here off the 3 metre springboard.
Yeah, and good from Amber. Better than her last round, so that's a good comeback for her.
Yeah, McDougall from Northcote College, and she scored 3 6.5s. 19.5 points in total.
Nice and vertical, which the judges are looking to see.
Out of a maximum of 30, of course. Now Olivia Fox. Forward 1.5 somersaults with a tuck.
So good effort from Olivia. She's jumped nice and high and shown a great tuck position. The judges are looking to see no space between her chest and her knees. There, beautiful tuck position, but just over-rotated, as you can see there with the legs going over.
Gianna Hurlenbang, forward 1.5 somersaults, piked, 1.7 degree difficulty.
Yeah, not a bad effort from Gianna. She's landed slightly shorter vertical, but done good work through the air. 6s is a good reflection of that.
Alice Sherson from Green Bay out there now. Nicely done.
And aiming to land nice and vertical, which unfortunately she's not quite achieved there, but still some 5s, which is okay.
You got to get those legs up, Alice. Rhiannon Marriott, Northcote College. Now this dive is 2.2. I think this is the hardest dive that we've seen in the competition so far. And with 1.5 somersaults with the tuck. Let's see if she can pull it off.
Oh, wow, yeah, great job from Rhiannon. I think she might get some 8s here. Yeah, 1.8, so 7.5. So she went slightly sideways. I don't know if you can see that. She went slightly sideways, so the judges may have seen that and deducted.
And Bree Ackland to finish round 3 of the intermediate girls and would dive piked.
Bree received a sportsmanship award at the Nationals over the weekend. Always recruiting people to cheer and make some noise, which is really cool. Always a lot of fun for Bree, and she's done a good dive there as well. I think she'll be pleased with that. 6.5s.
Yeah, 2 6.5s and a 7. So Koshal of Henderson, his third dive. Last one was a 1.5 degree difficulty. He's gone up just a half 0.1 of a point. Reverse dive with a tuck.
That's good from Josiah. He's done a really strong kick out, so he's jumped real high. And you'll see here he makes this tuck shape and then kicks out really fast. And the judges like to see that. Unfortunately, he's kicked up a bit of splash, but they have rewarded him for his aerial work.
Now Caleb Young, after 2 dives at the 1 metre springboard, goes up to the 3 metre springboard. Forward dive piked. Nothing too ambitious from Caleb, but he's diving pretty solid.
Yeah, I think so. Caleb's done a good job through the air and actually a pretty good entry as well. He's a little bit far away from the board, so that's where the 6s have come from. If he was closer to the board, he probably would have got some 7.5s.
Yeah, Caleb Young there from Linfield College. So now we're on to round 4 of 7. Hope you're enjoying our coverage here of the New Zealand Secondary Schools Diving Championships for 2020. The intermediates category. Remember, we have the seniors to come a little later where they'll dive 8 times. Now we've got Maya Grundy to start round 4 of the intermediate girls.
So again, I think Maya is has been recruited by Bree. She's only had 2 training sessions, and so it looks like she's had to enter a dive that she hasn't perhaps perfected or attempted yet. So interesting strategy, but at least she's having fun. Which
here's Caitlin Viljoen now of Westlake Girls. Backward 1.5 somersaults with half a twist. This is getting up there.
Yeah, good from Caitlin. She came to diving from gymnastics, so has some pretty good aerial awareness already. And this is a tough move. You got 1.5 somersaults with a half twist, and she's done a good job. Her feet have come apart, unfortunately, which is where the 4.5 has come from.
Well, we're into a good round here. 6 of the divers out of the 12 here are attempting dives with a degree of difficulty more than 2. So this is that's good. And Holly Winchester here is one of those. Nailed her last dive.
And a pretty good effort from Holly there as well. She's slightly over-rotated, so I think she's going to receive sort of 6.5. Yeah, just see if legs going over there, but a great jump off the platform. She's got some good promise, Holly, so it's good to see her continuing to do well here at the secondary school champs as she did in the nationals, the Diving New Zealand Nationals over the weekend.
Here's Jessie Tater backward line up with a tuck.
Oh dear, so that would have hurt actually. That's a tough move, and if she hasn't had much time to practice it, but good on her for giving it a go, and landing on her back like that is not fun from 3 metres high, so well done for getting out with a smile on your face, Jessie.
Chloe Warwick, now 2.2 degree difficulty here, inward 1.5 somersaults off the 1 metre springboard. We've got a good competition going on here between Viljoen, Winchester, Warwick, Marriott. So all of these dives are going to count big time here. Warwick from Hamilton Girls High School.
And that's great from Chloe, who seems to be in it as well, and that's going to help her out. You know, a higher degree of difficulty there and some 6.5, 7.5. The judges liked it. Of course, a lot of these girls train together on a regular basis, so it's good to see them pushing each other, not only here, but, you know, I see them pushing each other in their practice every day as well. So that's showing in their ability to do really well at the likes of competitions like these.
Riley Oxenham, inward dive piked, 1.4 degree difficulty.
Yeah, and that's better from Riley. She's capable of doing entries like that very, very well, and she's nailed that one. And the judges loved it, 8. So she's got a nice pike position, perfect through the water, no splash.
Yeah, nice easy scorecard there. All 5 judges scoring her 8 points, which is great, isn't it?
Yeah, that's going to help her out a lot. And Amber doing the same dive. And you can see the difference in the entry there. That's a nice comparison to have, actually. She's slightly under-rotated, and that's caused a bit of splash.
Yeah, and her scores don't match Oxenham's.
See there, her legs have just hit the water a little bit short of vertical.
Yeah, so McDougall there in the 6s and the 7s, whereas Oxenham was in the 8s. Now Olivia Fox from Albany Junior High School. Inward 1.5 somersaults with a tuck. She's up on the 5 metre platform.
This is a tough move for Olivia.
Yeah, 2.2 degree of difficulty, so it's by far the toughest dive she's attempted.
And she's nailed it as well. I think that's her best one of the competition so far. So she's spinning back towards the platform. That can be quite a scary dive to learn for the likes of Olivia in this case. And she's come out nice and straight, nice and vertical on the entry. A little bit of splash, but I think she'll be pleased with that. That's pretty good scores there.
Yeah, 3 7s at a degree of difficulty of 2.2. It's a total score of 46.2.
Yeah, so that's going to help her out a lot.
Hurling bang again. Albany Senior High School. And
so again, a tough dive. 1.5 somersaults in the inwards direction just from the 1 metre board is a lot to get in, and she's not quite finished the rotation, so she's landed slightly short of vertical. She's received 5s.
Yeah, 2.2 degree difficulty. So again, significant step up. Now, Sherson from Green Bay, forward dive piked.
Yeah, so you'd have seen a bit of something happening in the air there. Her legs came apart and bent a little bit. I think the judges are going to penalise quite harshly for that, unfortunately.
Yes, indeed. 3.5, 4.5, and 4.5 are the scores for Alice Sherson. Now, Rhiannon Marriott. Back 1.5 somersaults with a tuck off the 1 metre board.
Again, a tough move. Oh, and she's absolutely nailed it. Rhiannon's having a blinder. So she's finished the somersaults well above the water and had time to kick out into a nice straight position, and she's nailed that entry as well, which the judges love to see.
Well, we've got a good competition on our hands here in the girls, haven't we?
We certainly do.
Winchester, Marriott, Warwick, all scoring pretty well in these dives. Viljoen as well as there or thereabouts. Bree Ackland now to end the...
Yeah, and that's going to help her out there as well. Bree, I think we'll see Bree nipping on the heels of some of these girls as well. She's... well,
there are the scores actually after
yes, so we can
the
see
fourth
now.
round now. So Winchester's got a actually pretty decent lead there, hasn't she? Of over 20 points. So it's a pretty good effort there from Winchester. Warwick in second, Olivia Fox and Marriott. Well, there's only 6 points covering them. And Viljoen is just there as well. All within 10 points of each other, the next 4 divers.
So that shows the excitement, and everything's going to count from this point on. And Josiah doing an inward dive there off the 7 metre, and pretty good effort as well, similar to his last round dive, with a little bit of splash but nice air work.
And Caleb Young, 1.6 degree difficulty for this dive, forward 1.5 somersaults piked.
Yeah, and good from Caleb as well. I'm impressed with his height that he's getting off that board. And so are the judges by the looks.
Yeah, that was a good effort, wasn't it? 2 7s and a 7.5. So we're on round 5 now. So each of the divers has 3 dives left.
So again, a good effort from Maya. She's not done a lot of diving from my understanding, and it's awesome that Bree's able to recruit some divers to come and have a go at this. And but still a good effort. Just shows the difficulty of diving and how much practice goes into it.
100%.
These guys make it look easy.
Now Viljoen, who needs a good dive here to stay in touch. And that was a forward double somersault with a tuck, a 2.2 degree difficulty.
Yeah, so that's quite a difficult move to land in the vertical position. There's not a lot of dives that go feet first, and Caitlin's done a great job in the air, and she's actually over-rotated. So you've seen she went a little bit on her stomach, and it's unfortunate because it was a good takeoff.
Now Winchester, the leader, she can nail this one. Forward 2.5 somersaults piked. 2.4 degree difficulty, not much splash there, Liam.
Wow, that was great from Holly. That was really, really good. She's doing an approach, so that's to build up some momentum to get nice and high off the platform. She's got a good pike position through the air, and she nailed that entry, perfectly vertical.
Yeah, big scoring there for Winchester. 2 8.5s and an 8.
So that's only going to extend her lead.
There's Jessie Tate again.
Yeah, and same as Maya, teammates of Maya and Bree Ackland. And again, just showing, the difficulty of, that's a low degree of difficulty, but it's still very hard to learn with a short amount of time to practice.
Chloe Warwick is going to have a handstand somersault piked right at the top from the 10 metre board. Wow.
She's nailed that. That's very impressive. We were saying earlier that it's not easy to do a handstand on a 5 metre. Well, try doing it on 10 metre. And she nailed her entry. The judges slightly deducted on the basis that she didn't hold her handstand, so she may have received 8s if she had held it just for a little bit longer.
Well, Riley Oxenham is next up as we enjoy that dive one more time from Warwick. Oxenham. Not quite as tough as her last dive. 1.5 degree difficulty here, inward dive piked.
Yeah, but again, nice through the air. So she's got a really nice pike shape, Riley. There's a lot of flexibility that goes into diving. You see her pointed toes there. The judges like to see that. A little bit of splash.
Now Amber McDougall. Inward 1.5 somersaults with a tuck. 3 metre springboard. She's on the hunt of a medal. There's McDougall. And
Amber's done a good job there. She came out a little bit early, I think, and then she sort of realised it and saved it. So you see here, it's a good take. She comes out and then pulls it round to vertical. That's tough to do. So that's worked out in her favour. So another handstand from Olivia. I'd expect to see her hold this quite well. Olivia came from a gymnastics background as well. Another one to watch, I think. She's still quite young.
Yeah, she's doing a dive of 1.7.
Yeah, so nice there from Olivia. And nice through the air as well. A great pike shape again. Very flexible from a gymnastics background. Didn't quite nail that entry, but that handstand was amazing, and the judges have rewarded her for that.
Yeah, an 8, 7.5 and a 7 for Fox. Good effort. Probably the best handstand dive we've seen today.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, and that doesn't surprise me. Olivia's got great handstands. She works really hard on them.
Hurling Bang now from Albany Senior High School. That was a back dive with a tuck.
Yeah, and that was good from Gianna. Good through the air. I think she might have lost her hands on the entry, so the divers will grab their hands as they enter the water to try and like sort of dig a hole. You see there, she just lost them a little bit before she hit the water, and that kicked up some splash.
That's Sherson, forward dive with a tuck.
Yeah, and Alice is just not quite rotated enough. So the judges are looking for the divers to land vertical, perpendicular to the water, and you notice her legs were just a little bit shorter vertical on that.
Now Rhiannon Marriott, she needs a good score here for double somersault with a tuck.
Oh, and she's nailed that again as well. We saw Caitlin Fillon do that earlier and went way over, and Rhiannon's landed perfectly vertical, and the judges have been impressed.
Yeah, 2 7.5s and an 8.
Great tuck shape there as well.
That's going to put her in contention. Now Bree Ackland to complete round 5, forward 1.5 somersaults piked from the 5 metre platform. 1.7 degree difficulty.
So Bree did this from the 3 metre in the last round. She's now doing it from the 5. And a good effort. She's not quite given it enough, so she's under-rotated. She's landed a little bit shorter vertical.
Yeah, 2 6s and a 5.5. That ends round 5 of the girls. So a big lead now for Winchester, who really scored big there. Not only did she score the highest out of all the 12 girl divers, but she had the highest degree of difficulty as well.
Yeah, so that was a big move from Holly, and it really paid off.
Here's Josiah Kaushal, forward 1.5 somersaults with a tuck.
I'd probably say that's Josiah's best dive so far. Probably his most difficult as well.
Yeah, 2 6s and a 6.5. And Caleb Young slowly increasing the difficulty of his dives as he goes to 1.9 this time, inward 1.5 somersaults on the 3 metre springboard.
Yeah, so he's going to be spinning forwards back towards the springboard. And that's difficult to do, and he's done a good job of it, although he hasn't quite come out straight enough for the judges to be scoring in the 7s. But they'll go with him for 6s.
Yeah, 3 6s for Caleb Young. Well, those two having a good battle. The two
they
boys.
are, yes.
Yeah.
It's interesting to watch, and they were competing over the Diving New Zealand Nationals in the weekend, and they were having a good battle there as well.
Maya Grundy.
So a better effort from Maya there. I'm impressed with her, to be honest. She's you know, it's tough. Diving's a tough sport, and she's giving it a good go, and obviously not showing quite as much ability as the others, but she hasn't had much time to practice the moves.
Caitlin Viljoen now, 2.2. Inward 1.5 somersaults with a tuck. The next diver after this, Holly Winchester, is going to attempt a 2.7 degree difficulty dive.
Good from Caitlin. You see there was not much splash there. She was slightly short of vertical.
So good scores, 3.7. So Winchester now, let's move to her. Liam, I think this is the hardest dive of the day so far, 2.7.
Yes. So this is a big move. So in fact, we may have seen Abraham perform this in the juniors. So this is a 2.5 somersaults back towards the platform, and she's given it a good effort. She's not quite given it enough, so she's slightly short of vertical, but she's still going to receive a good reward from that based on the high degree of difficulty, and she still managed to get some 5s and 5.5s.
That shouldn't impact her lead too much. She did have a healthy lead after 5 rounds.
It does open the door slightly for Rhiannon though, and some of those other girls, so it'll be interesting to see how they do this round.
Now we're just waiting for the next diver. Is Jessie Tate from Kristen. She's supposed to be on the 3 metre springboard with a forward dive with a tuck. And it looks like she might have put on an invisible suit. Because no one can find her.
Not sure what's happening here. I think Chloe is getting ready for her dive, who's
Chloe,
after her, and she's up on the 7 metre, so
yeah,
looks like she's doing a twisting dive.
Correct. Okay, so we've just been told Jessie Tate is out of the competition.
So she had that unfortunate landing on her back in the last round, so that's obviously...
So we're moving to Chloe Warwick. Back 1.5 somersaults with half a twist. 7.5 metre platform.
Of course, Chloe's in contention as well. It's not bad from Chloe. Tough, these twisting dives. She's gone well over of vertical. You'll see she comes round and her legs just go a little bit over there, but she still received 5.5, so it's certainly not going to hurt her.
Back to Riley Oxenham we go, round 6 this is. Back dive with a tuck.
So Riley actually did this on the 1 metre a few rounds ago. And a similar job really on the 3 metre, slightly shorter vertical. She's going to receive 6s. And the fact that she's slightly shorter vertical just means that she can't do an entry with no splash, so that's what the judges are looking for, vertical, no splash. She's got great work through the air though.
Amber McDougall, Northcote College, forward 1.5 somersaults.
Good from Amber. She's doing quite well here as well. She had a nice pike position in that. Straight legs, that's what the judge is looking for. Pointed toes. She's done that well. Just slightly short of vertical, but a fairly clean entry.
Now Albany Junior High School's Olivia Fox, forward 1.5 somersaults with a tuck. Round 6, degree of difficulty 1.6.
Yeah, nice from Olivia. So, nice clean entry there, which the judges will like. A great tuck position. So, yeah, really small shapes. She's going to spin really fast. Gone through the water with pretty much no splash.
Now, this is Gianna Hulenbang, a handstand dive.
And that's great from Gianna. She showed control in the handstand, which is what the judge is looking for. And she showed a great entry and vertical on the water. She's received 7.5 for that, so well done,
score.
Gianna.
Good score for Hulenbag. That should see her move up the standings a bit. Here's Alice Scherson. Back dive with a tuck. Off the 1 metre springboard.
Yeah, and unfortunate that she's not rotated enough there and actually lost her legs as well. So I think the judges will deduct. Great jump, and then you see she just landed slightly on her back.
Okay, we go to Rhiannon Marriott, who's on the 3 metre springboard this time. A forward 2.5 somersaults with a tuck. 2.2 degree difficulty.
Oh, and that's a good effort from Rhiannon. She's got a great tuck as well, so she spins really fast. There's a lot to get through in that short amount of space. And you see she tucks, and then she does what we call a pike out. So she straightens her legs and then opens up to straight. And the judges have awarded her with 7s.
They have 3 7s. Bree Ackland with her last, or her 6th dive now, the last of the girls in the intermediate category. Back 1.5 somersaults with a tuck. 1.9 degree difficulty.
It's a big dive for Bree.
Mm.
And she's done a good effort. She's slightly short of vertical when her feet were apart. I don't know if the judges would have seen that. It doesn't look like they have, which is good. I think she'll be happy with 6.5s on that. It's a good effort for Bree. Yeah, good.
There's Josiah Koshal again from Henderson High School, an arm stand somersault piked from the 7.5 metre platform.
So another handstand. It's great to see all these handstand dives. It's not an easy thing to do. Josiah's done a pretty good job. See him just pushing with his hands off there, off the board, and lining up on the water. A bit of splash, which the judges would deduct for as well.
And Caleb Young, forward dive piked from the 5 metre platform.
So Caleb had a nice pike position there, nice straight legs, pointed toes, and then it was just a little bit unfortunate that it went quite far over, as we would say. So he's just over rotated. You'll see his legs go over, and then he pushes the water up.
Well, we have the last round now of the intermediates. This is the last round of the competition, and we've got 11 girls left, 2 boys, all on a finish.
So somewhat there from Maya. Better effort from Maya there, so well done to her. It's not easy to do a somersault.
Well, she got a couple of 5s there. 5.5.
She'll be pleased with that.
Ooh.
Yeah, and
That might hurt.
it would, yeah,
On the
it would
bottom of
hurt
the
a little
chin,
bit.
yeah.
You know, it's amazing how painful water can be when you don't quite get it right. So we saw that from Jessie earlier, landing on her back.
Yes. Caitlin Villeneuve wants to finish with a flourish. That was actually a tough dive she just attempted there.
Yes.
Back somersault with 1.5 twists.
Yeah, so she had to get through 1.5 twists. So it's quite cool to the spectators, these dives that have lots of twists in them, and it does have a high degree of difficulty, and she's done a really good job with that, coming from her gymnastics background.
So here's Holly Winchester from Westlake Girls again. Forward 2.5 somersault pike dive from the very top. The 10 metre platform. Love it.
And she's absolutely nailed it. So she did that off the 7 metre earlier, and she's now done it off the 10 metre, giving her that little bit more room.
Oh, she got a 10.
And we've got our first 10 of the day.
Wow.
So well done, Holly. That, you know, she was nice and vertical. She had a great pike shape through the air, and she's been rewarded. So well done, Holly.
Wow. Your mate, she got a 10?
That's very impressive.
That's perfection.
So yeah, 10 is excellent in the judges' eyes, and that was an excellent dive. So well done, Holly.
Here's Chloe Warwick, who's in with a chance of a medal. Chloe Warwick from Hamilton Girls High School. Forward 2.5 somersaults with a tuck off the 3 metre, and she scored a 5.5 and 2 6s.
Yes, a lot of rotations to get through, and she's done a good job. Just finished a little bit low, so the judges also impressed if you can finish the dive high above the water. So they'll reward you for that as well.
Riley Oxenham with a handstand somersault pike dive from the 5 metre platform.
So again, a nice pike shape from Riley. She's got great pointed toes. Looks really good in the air. The judges will like that. She's just gone a little bit over, and she's not quite held her handstand for too long. So that's the reason for the the sixes. But I think she'll be pleased with that.
Now Amber McDougall, who's also going to attempt that dive.
Yeah, so Amber didn't... It'll be interesting to see what the judges give here. She didn't hold that handstand, so the judges like to see control. But everything else was good, so that's why there's a little bit of difference there between a 5 and a 7.
Olivia Fox with her last dive, the forward dive, piked from the 5-metre platform. Well, Holly Winchester with that last dive of hers was sensational.
Dive of the day, I'd say.
Oh, yes. Well, there's a good dive too, wasn't it?
Yeah, and again, Olivia, like Riley, they're very good friends. They both come... Olivia comes from a gymnastics background. She's got great flexibility, great pointed toes, and the judges like to see that. Great line there, slightly over.
Gianna Hurlenbang, inward dive piked.
Yeah, so that was similar to what we saw from Olivia, but facing the other way, back towards the platform.
Couple of sixes.
And that's a good finish for Gianna, I think. She's had a pretty good day.
So we've got 3 girls left for their last dive, and then the 2 boys. That was Alice Sherson.
Another somersault. She's slightly under-rotated.
2 5.5s and a 6 there.
And that'll help her out. A little bit higher degree of difficulty this time than her last few dives, so that's good.
Now Rhiannon Marriott, who's in a battle for the minor placings here at Northcote College. She can nail this one, Liam. Back 1.5 somersaults with a half a twist.
I've seen her do it. And she's done it now again in competition. Well done, Rhiannon.
Yeah, that's going to, or should seal second place for her. Oh, good scoring too.
Yeah.
2 7.5s and an 8.
A couple of 8s there, and well deserved as well. She had great aerial work, looked really good in the air, and then nailed that entry.
Bree Ackland to end the competition for the girls. Inward 1.5 somersaults with a tuck from the 3-metre springboard.
So again, she's going to be spinning back. She's going to be spinning forwards back towards that board. And done a good job of it, actually. She's finished the dive nice and high above the water, shown a little bit of what we call a pike out. So she comes from a tuck position and straightens her legs into a pike there, and then goes to a straight position. And the judges like to see that. It just shows the ease of the dive for her.
Well, we'll get the unofficial results for you in just a second of the girls' competition. We'll just complete the boys first. Josiah Kashal of Henderson High School, inward 1.5 somersaults with a tuck from the 7.5 metre height.
Yeah, no, good finish for Josiah. Again, we saw a little pike out there that I just explained that Bree did. So it shows it's easy for him. He's come round, just kicked up a little bit of splash. 6s are pretty good for Josiah there.
And Caleb Young with his last dive. Handstand somersault from the 5-metre platform. And there goes Caleb Young from Linfield College.
Yeah, and well done, Caleb. A good finish there as well. Another handstand dive. It was great to see a lot of handstand dives, actually. They're a tough thing to do.
Well, there we are. 7 rounds in the intermediate section with Caleb Young wrapping it up. And we will have some results for you in just a moment, but I don't think there's any doubt that Holly Winchester has completed what's been a pretty comprehensive win for her in this intermediate section.
Yes, well, she showed off her skills very, very well. I said at the start that she was one to watch. She's had a great Diving New Zealand Nationals over the weekend just been. She had a bit of time away from the sport last year, and she's come back and she's trained really hard to get herself in a competitive position again, and won a national title in the Open Women's, the senior event on 10 metre, and she's now won herself a secondary schools title as well.
Well, it's been a good weekend for her, hasn't it? Yes, Holly Winchester from Westlake Girls High School. It's going to be interesting to see who's finished in second, third and fourth, because we had that really tight battle, didn't we, between maybe 4 or 5, and in fact there are the results.
Yeah, Rhiannon and Chloe were battling, and
Holly Winchester's margin has actually narrowed a little bit with Rhiannon Marriott.
Yeah, well, Rhiannon had a great last 2 rounds, didn't she?
She did. Yeah, so there we are.
Out a lot.
So Holly Winchester from Westlake Girls High School, 334.3 points. Rhiannon Marriott from Northcote College in second, and then a big gap back. But look how close it was for third and fourth
That's
there.
Unbelievable,
just
isn't it?
0.3 of a point between Warwick and Viljoen. That was very close. And then Olivia Fox finishing in 5th place. But Viljoen missing out on a bronze medal by what? 0.3 of a point.
And that's heartbreaking. I've been on both sides of that before myself, and that's less than half a point from a judge. So that just shows, we've just been through 7 rounds of diving, and we can only split them by 0.3 of a point. So that's a good battle from Caitlin and Chloe. And
a word on the top 2 though. Winchester, you touched on her, but Marriott showing some promise as well.
Yeah, I've been impressed with Rhiannon. She had a good weekend just gone at the Diving New Zealand Nationals, and she's again showed some of her stuff off today.
And we've just been given the boys' results as well. We can tell you that just the 2 competitors, Caleb Young has prevailed in the intermediate boys. His total score 214.35. Josiah Koshal of Henderson finished with 192.65. So Caleb Young is a New Zealand secondary schools champion
well done,
as well.
Caleb, and he's another one who I was impressed with over the weekend. Actually, he's I don't believe he's been diving for terribly long, and he's showing some great promise. He's got really great air work and some great lines, which we talk about in diving. Having the ability to look nice and straight on the water. So nice to see Caleb take the win there.
Well done. So there we are. We can tell you well done to Holly Winchester from Westlake Girls High School and Caleb Young from Linfield College. And earlier, of course, I'm just trying to think back to the juniors that we had. We had Abraham Lee, of course, winning the juniors from Elam Christian College out in East Auckland. And the winner of the junior girls was Grace Campbell.
Yes.
From Westlake Girls. So Westlake Girls have won both girls titles so far today.
So that's pretty cool to see, actually. Some bit of success in diving from Westlake. So we were talking about Albany Junior High earlier, got some good divers, but obviously Westlake are in the mix as well.
Yeah, so well done to Westlake Girls. And don't forget, folks, you can stay with us. We have the seniors coming shortly, and we have all the divers in the seniors to compete 8 times. And we've just got a small field of divers in that, but there's going to be some rich quality in there.
Yeah, small, but some big dives to come, so we'll see them introduced now. We've got Luke Sipkis, he's on the New Zealand national team.
Yeah, he's from Rangitoto College. Sam Compton from Albany Senior High School. Maggie Squire from Takapuna is there as well.
Yeah, so both Luke and Maggie are on the New Zealand national team. They've been competing over the weekend that I've been talking about as well, both taking multiple national titles themselves, still in the junior category, but also competing in the senior event. Luke winning the platform event, Maggie winning 3 metre and 1 metre. So they're both showing great signs of promise. We're going to see some big dives from them, so it's going to be exciting. It appears that Michaeli Dawson has had to pull out. She's been battling with some injuries in the past, and she's had a big weekend as well. So I think that would be the case why Michaeli's had to pull out, unfortunately.
Yeah, that is a shame, isn't it? But Luke Sipkis and Sam Compton going to battle each other. Who's your pick in there?
Well, I have to go with Luke just based on how he's done this weekend. Just gone, he's shown some real promise. He's been up and coming for a while, and he's starting to push towards up and coming now in the seniors. Both Luke and Maggie were supposed to be competing in the Junior World Championships at the end of this year. Obviously, those have been postponed. But they both, Luke's been to a World Junior Championships himself 2 years ago. They were both on the international scene last year in November at a senior Grand Prix, so they're starting to build some experience as well. Luke's starting to learn some harder dives, as is Maggie, and it's going to be exciting over the next sort of Olympic cycle and, you know, the Commonwealth Games coming up, and watching these two progress in diving. I think they'll be ones to watch, and they're definitely going to have some success on not only the national stage but the world stage as well, so it'll be nice to see how they do today.
All right, so that's where we are with this competition. Hope you're enjoying our coverage of Diving New Zealand Secondary Schools Championships here from the West Wave Aquatic Centre on Labor Day Monday. And we've got some excellent competition to come. Reminding you that all of these divers will dive 8 times over the next little while. Cumulative scores, of course, or scores are gained from each dive. 5 judges scattered around the pool. And we have only 3, the top score and the bottom score from each of the judges is discounted, and the middle 3 are added together and then multiplied by the degree of difficulty to get the score, and then it's just simply the diver with the high score at the end of the competition wins.
Yeah, that's right. It's possibly worth mentioning that the divers have 6 categories to pick from. So there's forwards, backwards. There's reverse, where they're going to be spinning backwards but jumping forwards, so they're spinning back towards the board. There's inwards, which is similar. They're going to be spinning forwards but jumping backwards, so we'll see some of those in this event. Then there's anything with a twist. And then on platform there's a handstand as well. So we've seen some dives from all of those categories so far, and we're going to see some big dives from those categories in this event. Some pretty high degree of difficulties in this event, I believe, so that should be exciting to see.
And Liam, can the divers pick whatever dive they want? Or are they required to pick some in some category?
Yes, there are some requirements to pick some from certain categories. So you see the medals.
Oh yeah, the medal's been handed out now
yeah.
in the intermediates. So, getting 3rd place.
With Chloe there in 3rd place.
Chloe Warwick, yes, of course, from Hamilton. And then Rhiannon Marriott from Northcote getting 2nd. And winning, of course, was very good performance from Holly Winchester of Westlake Girls. So well done.
Yeah, great to see.
Great to see. Holly Winchester. And now the boys getting their medals. Here's Josiah Koshal of Henderson High School. And Caleb Young from Linfield College.
And of course these divers are receiving not only the titles for themselves but also points for their schools for the overall title as well.
Yes, and we're getting updated scores on that shortly. And there's Caleb Young. Well done to Caleb from Linfield College.
Big smile on his face, that's awesome.
He'll get a bit of stick at school tomorrow. Well done to Caleb Young.
So the divers are just warming up here for the senior event. We were talking about the categories. This school's event has slightly different rules to a normal national or international event. But there are the 6 categories, and generally you have to do a dive from each of them. But we won't be seeing that requirement in this event, but we will be seeing a requirement for them to do multiple dives across the categories. So we'll see. I think we're going to see some big dives from Luke off the 10 metre, which will be exciting.
Yeah, well, he actually, I've got the list here. He's going to start off the 10 metre. In fact, his first 3 dives are all off the 10 metre. Is that something that he excels in, jumping off the high platform?
He does. Luke is a platform specialist. He does do a bit of springboard as well, but that's certainly his primary event, is the 10 metre platform.
And why would he be more suited to the 10 metre platform than, say, a springboard? Is it just purely enjoyment or the challenge? Or?
Well, no. Well, there's lots of elements that go into it, of course, from an enjoyment point of view. Luke, platform is a faster takeoff. So with the springboard, generally the guys are a little bit bigger, and they can push that board. They can use their weight to press the board down, so they do a lot of leg training, as do platform divers. Generally the taller guys in the sport tend to drift towards springboard. I'm a springboard specialist myself. I'm taller in the sport. And Luke as a junior has shown promise on platform as well. Of course, you know, it's quite often that juniors will start off on platform, and you know, should they stay in the sport for a long time, they might come down to springboard and have a bit of a springboard career at the end of their career. And Luke, you know, is still training springboard and platform, as do most divers at his age. Maggie is a springboard specialist, so Maggie's really strong. She's shown a lot of power and promise. But again, you know, she's competed in the platform over the weekend and shown some promise up there as well. So Luke and Maggie have actually done some synchro internationally as well. The mixed synchro is a newer event in diving. So they competed in Australia last year in the mixed synchro and did fairly well, especially as a young pair on a senior stage. So some potential there for them in the future as well, I think.
Well, this is good to watch then, isn't it? So
yep.
These seniors are all set to go. Not too far away from a start. We've got Luke Sipkes of Rangitoto, Sam Compton of Albany Senior High School, and Maggie Squire of Takapuna Grammar. The three divers who will be competing, but all of them are good. And I'm looking at their degree of difficulty. Maggie Squire straight off the bat with a 2.6, going up to 2.7. Maggie's going to actually attempt a 2.8 and a 3.0 degree difficulty dive. So it's all good to see, isn't it?
It certainly is. That 3.0 dive that Maggie's going to be doing, a forward 2.5 somersaults with one twist. It's a lot of dive, and she's been working on that for a long time now and had some real trouble with it for a while, but she's really pushed through and really worked hard, and it was awesome to see her do really well with it over the weekend. She nailed it actually in her open event.
I'm assuming you can't do the same dive twice in a competition, Liam?
No, that's correct. So in this secondary schools competition, you are allowed to do the same dive off a different board, which we've seen in a couple of the other events. In any other international event or the nationals just been, you cannot repeat a dive, and you have to do a dive from each of the categories that we were talking about earlier.
All right, here we go. We're underway now in the senior boys, and this is Luke Sipkes of Rangitoto. Forward 1.5 somersaults pike from the 10-metre platform.
And that's a great start from Luke. We're going to see some big scores from him on that, and probably in his next dives to come as well. Yeah, 10 there. I thought there might have been a 10. So he's done great aerial work, and he's absolutely nailed that entry. That's what we call a rip entry. No splash, that great sound. Easier dive for Luke. It's a pretty easy dive for him, but he's nailed it, so it's paid off.
Sam Compton is going to attempt a forward 1.5 somersaults piked off the springboard.
So Sam's done the same dive off 1 metre springboard. Luke did that off 10 metre platform. He's shown how high he can jump. He's just under-rotated slightly though, you can see there, just not quite perpendicular to the water.
Now Maggie Squire from Takapuna Grammar, forward 2.5 somersault piked. 2.6 degree difficulty.
Oh, and so Maggie, we'll see this in the replay, she was over the board, the end of the board, so she was hanging 10, so you'll see this as she gets to the end of the board. See her toes are hanging off the end. She's got a lot of work to do there, and that's why she's just not Maggie's best actually, but that's all right. It'll be interesting to see how she comes back from that.
So each of these three divers is going to dive 8 times, so we're back to Sipkes. He's done it to a handstand somersault piked from the very top.
Yeah, so I'd expect Luke to show us a nice handstand, hold it for a while. He works hard on this out of the pool. Yeah, and pretty good from Luke. He's not quite landed in a vertical position like he did on that previous dive.
Still pretty good scoring though.
Still some 8s.
7.5, 8 and 8. That degree of difficulty 1.9. Sam Compton's going to a 1.6 degree difficulty here. Forward 1.5 somersaults pike from the 3 metre springboard.
Yeah, so Sam, he started with it on 1 metre. He's now done it on 3 metre, as we talked about, which you're allowed to do. He's done a little bit of a better job there, so well done, Sam.
Yeah, 2 6s and a 6.5. And Maggie's going to have a crack here at the 1 metre springboard of a forward 1.5 somersaults with 2 twists. 2.6 degree difficulties. It's getting up there.
Big dive. And she's done a really good job with that. Well done for coming back, Maggie. She's, 2 twists to fit in with 1.5 somersaults just off 1 metre is a lot, and she's done a really good job. You see they're coming round almost vertical. Pretty good job from Maggie.
And she scores 7.5, 7.5 and 7. So good effort there from Squire, scoring much more heavily that time. And now Sipkeys is staying on the 10 metre platform. And this time he's going to attempt an inward 1.5 somersaults piked dive. Degree of difficulty 2.0.
Yeah, so this is the similar dive to what he started with. 1.5 somersaults in pike. This is an inwards, whereas he started with forwards, but he's still going to be spinning forwards just back towards that platform. And a fairly good job with that. He's not quite nailed the entry like he did on his first dive.
3 7.5s.
Good aerial work, a good pike position. He's coming round, and he's just not quite nailed that entry, but nice and vertical, so the judges like that.
Well, that takes him to a total of 133.65
already
on his 3 of 8 dives. Now Compton, forward double somersault piked. Oh boy.
Okay, so that in diving is what we call a balk. So Sam has started his approach and stopped, so there'll be a 2-point deduction from each judge.
That's unfortunate.
It is unfortunate. He's done a pretty good dive there. That's a tough move, a front double pike. So what will happen is the judges will mark out of 10. Then the referee will take 2 points away from each judge.
Yeah, which they've just done. He's scored 5.5, 3.5 and a 4.
Yeah, so that means that he was scoring a 7.5, and that's been moved down to a 5.5. So that's the unfortunate thing about a balk. And of course, if you balk twice, that's a failed dive. So big penalties for doing that in diving.
Well, Sipkis has got a big lead now, and here's Maggie Squire. Inward 2.5 somersaults with a tuck from the 3 metre springboard. Takapuna Grammar School, of course.
Yeah, and great from Maggie. It's awesome to see. We're seeing some big dives now from these guys, showing why they're the best in the country at the moment.
2 7s and a 7.5 for Squire.
Great tuck, nice and vertical. A little bit of a splash. That's pretty good from Maggie, showing her strength and power at such a young age as well. It's actually Maggie's birthday today as well, so happy birthday to Maggie.
Well, that takes her to a score of 147.75. She got scored big from her second dive from Emma. Now Sipkis again. Backward 1.5 somersaults with half a twist.
Yeah, and we've seen that dive a couple of times. Luke's done a really good job of it there, showing us how it's supposed to be done. Couple 8.5s. Jumps so high. And a pretty good entry.
His total now 182.65. Compton. He needs a big score here, doesn't he? Forward 2.5 somersaults. Get his confidence back after the balk on the last round.
Yeah, and good effort from Sam. He's slightly short of vertical, but it's a pretty good effort on that dive. It's a big dive. He's done nice pike position there.
Yeah, that was 2.4 degree difficulty. Now Squire's going to a 2.8 degree difficulty. Back 2.5 somersaults with a tuck. It's a good battle between her and Sipkis at the moment.
Yes, it is. It's going to be interesting to see how that ends up. Maggie can absolutely nail this. I've seen her do it many times. The question is, can she do it now in this competition? And she can. She hasn't nailed that entry. There's a little bit of splash there, but she's perfectly vertical, so she's still going to get 7.5s and 8s.
Yes.
And yet she can still do better. But that's awesome for Maggie. So high, showing her strength.
Well, her score after 4 rounds is 209.35. Sipkiss is on 182.65. Compton 133.15. So now Sipkiss, after 4 dives on the top 10-metre platform, comes down to the 3-metre springboard for a dive here of a backward 2.5 somersaults with a tuck.
Which is what we just saw from Maggie.
That's right.
Oh, and that's I don't know who did that better, actually. Luke was slightly short of vertical, but kept his splash down. So they're going to get similar scores. Yeah, Luke 6.5. So they're going to penalise him based on the fact here, you'll see he's quite short of vertical.
Yeah, the entry much tidier from Squire. Compton, inward double somersault with a tuck. It's off the 1-metre springboard.
Yeah, big dive for Sam. Inward double, so he's spinning back towards the board in a forwards rotation. And of course, he's got to spin around twice. It's a lot of work to do on just a 1-metre springboard.
Now Maggie Squire is up the forward 2.5 somersaults, 1 twist piked off the 3-metre springboard. This is a degree of difficulty of 3.0. This was the one we've been looking forward to.
This is, yeah. So we were talking about this at the start, how she's put a lot of work into this over the last 12 months, and it really paid off in the nationals over the weekend. So can she nail it now? And I'll tell you what, she hasn't quite done it as well as I've seen her do it in the nationals, but that's really good from Maggie. She just didn't quite finish the rotation. She got the twist in. It's a lot of dive to do.
3 sixes.
2 somersaults there, 1 twist, just a little bit short of vertical. But 6s on a 3.0 is still going to be a big score.
It sure is. So Squire, after 5 of the 8 rounds, 263.35. This man, Sipkiss, 237.25. Compton, 168.15. This dive, inward 2.5 somersaults with a tuck.
Oh, and Luke's he's given it too much, or he's come out a little bit too late. So he's shown us great strength there, so high above the board. Great tuck position there, and he's just come out a little bit late and gone way over.
Now Compton
doing the same dive that Luke just did, actually. So see if he can do it any better. So he's sort of done the opposite. Luke went over, he's gone short, so that means he hasn't rotated enough. So he's short of vertical.
4.5 and 2 5s for Compton. Now Squire, forward 2.5 somersaults piked. She's up on the 5-metre platform this time.
So this is the dive she started with on the 1 metre. She had a bit of a scraggly takeoff and didn't quite get that in very well for her. So she's got a bit of a chance to redeem herself on this, which she does as well. That's a tough dive to do a 5 metre. She's got a great pike position. She spins so fast, showing how powerful she is.
Yeah, she scored 6.5.
Slightly over
6
there.
and 7.
But pretty good from Maggie.
Well, keeps her a good lead. She's cracked the 300 mark now. Liam, 314.05 after 6 dives. And Sipkiss again starting round 7, forward 2.5 somersaults.
That's great from Luke. So that was the same dive we just saw from Maggie, but off the 3 metre. He's got some 8s. He had a great entry.
He scored big there, 3 8s. Compton.
Nice pike. Comes out and watch this entry. No splash.
Very tidy, wasn't it? Compton. Back 1.5 somersaults with a tuck. Off the 1 metre springboard.
So he's jumped nice and high. He's strong as well as Sam. but he's just come out a little bit too early, so he's landed a little bit on his back. You'll see here in the replay. A good tuck, and then he just comes out, and he's short of vertical, so the judges will penalise for that.
Yeah, 3.5s for Compton. Now Squire up on the 7.5 metre platform. She's mixing it up quite a bit.
She is, and she's very talented. We were talking before how she's, a springboard specialist, although she's been doing quite a bit of platform lately and doing really well on it as well. So this is a newish dive for her as well. She's not been doing this for too long.
2.7 degree difficulty, inward 2.5 somersaults with a tuck.
So again, showing her strength, spinning really fast and finishing the dive so high above the water, but coming out too late and going way over a vertical. She's still going to get 6s and 7s though.
You're right.
She's here, you'll see, way over, big splash. Again, a high degree of difficulty though.
Well, that's 3 6s she scored. So last dive coming up for these competitors now. Luke Sipkis from Rangitoto, 338.05, and he's gone back to the 10 metre platform. And he'll attempt a 2.8 degree difficulty dive here. Reverse 2.5 somersaults with tuck.
Yeah, so Luke did this in the weekend and absolutely nailed it. So let's hope he can do it again for us today. This is a big dive off way up at 10 metres, spinning back towards the platform in the reverse direction. And he's not quite nailed it like he did in the weekend. He's just short of vertical, so he's jumped up way up into the air. He's got a great tuck position. Comes out so early, it's so easy for him. He just lands a little bit short of vertical, and off 10 metre that's going to put up a big splash.
So Compton's last dive will be a backward 1.5 somersaults with tuck from the 3 metre springboard. Degree of difficulty 1.9.
So that's the same dive Sam just did off the 1 metre where he went short of vertical. He's now gone over a vertical. So that's why where the 4s are coming from. He went quite far over there.
And Maggie Squire to complete the competition with a challenging dive back 2.5 somersaults with tuck. 2.8 degree difficulty. And she's been scoring really well.
She's certainly a talent.
All the way through, isn't she?
She is, yeah. Her birthday today as well, 15th birthday. So she's one to watch. She's got definitely got a future in the sport. And again, that's a fairly new dive for Maggie as well, and it's so easy for her. She's gone way, way over a vertical. She just needed to come out earlier then, so she's in that nice tuck position, spinning really fast, and she's just come out too late, and her legs go over, and she's produced a really big splash there.
She has. 3 5s were the score for Maggie Squire of Takapuna Grammar, but still it's been a good competition. Good to see some youngsters coming through.
It is
like
really, really cool to see. Being on the national team myself for several years now, and there was a while there where there was only sort of 1 or 2 of us, and now there's these young ones coming through and pushing us as well. So it's awesome to see and awesome to have them. I train with those guys a lot as well, which is nice to have.
It's going to be Maggie Squire who will win the senior girls title. But she actually beat the boys as well.
Well, how about that?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, in fact, Sipkis might have got her, actually. 391.25.
There we go. Yep.
Might have got her with that last dive of his.
Which was a big dive.
That big dive, the second to last one, in fact.
Yep.
Yeah, might have just got there. So 391.25. Squire's total score 365.35, and Compton 261.05. So well done to Luke Sipkis and Maggie Squire, who win the boys and girls titles respectively. And we just Lindsay Stone is just a mathematical genius. Is just trying to sort out the school title for us at the moment. Looks like I think Albany Junior Seniors had a good lead going into that last effort, didn't they? With a score of 131 after after 3 of the 4 categories today. Westlake was sitting in second and Northcote in third. So we're just going to wait for those scores. And of course, I think we're going to get some medals presented to the 3 divers that we've just seen performing as well.
Yes, and then I believe we'll see the cup presented. The way the school, the overall school wins the title is based on participants get points based on where they place in the competition, and each school can have up to 3 participants scoring points. So first place will receive 30 points, and 8th place, for example, will receive 17 points. So if you've got 3 people placing throughout the field, then that's going to give your score a much better chance than just one person getting a title. So Westlake we've seen 2 titles from Westlake today. So they've been nipping at the heels, but lots of divers from Albany Junior and Senior, so it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yes, well, we're just waiting for those scores. I don't think Westlake would have caught up because they didn't have any competitors in that last round. Mind you, did I don't think either. Well, of course, Sam was from Albany Senior High School.
Yes, he was.
Yeah. So we'll just wrap all this up in just a moment for you. Might even hear from one of the 2 divers. Looks like you're going to be interviewer, Liam, which is good. Get your interviewing skills up to par, mate.
Yeah. On the other side of the camera for once.
Yeah, exactly. And hopefully we'll see you back in the pool before not too long, eh? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I'm hard into rehab at the moment. I'm just carrying a little bit of a back injury, so it's nice that I've not missed out on too much because of it. And I'm looking forward to getting back into the pool as soon as I can, and hopefully next year looks a little bit better with a bit more going on, and I'll be back in shape to compete.
Well, that's right. Hopefully we'll all be enjoying a lot more sport in 2021 after what's been a pretty wretched 2020.
It certainly
Full
has.
stop.
But it's amazing, and it's been awesome that we've been able to hold this competition and the nationals that's just gone over the weekend. There's been a lot of sports that haven't been able to hold a nationals. There's been a lot of countries that haven't been able to hold anything. So we're fortunate to at least have something.
Exactly. And it is great credit to all the officials of Diving New Zealand who have got this event going this weekend. So we're just being confirmed that the lead or the winning school over the 4 disciplines is Albany Junior Senior School, Junior High School rather. 154 points. Westlake Girls have come second, and Northcote College came third, just ahead of Kristen, who have finished in 4th place. But it's been a good event all round. And what's been your highlight, Liam? I mean, we got a couple of 10s today, didn't we?
We did. We got one from Luke there, his first round dive.
Yeah. And we got one from Holly,
and we got one from Holly Winchester on a harder dive, actually, which was awesome to see. I've been so impressed with Holly over the weekend. I was saying about her before how she had a bit of time away from the sport, and she's come back. She's really worked really hard to get herself in a top position again, and she's won an open title over the weekend. She's just won a schools competition national title as well. So yeah, really impressed with Holly, and as with many others, there was lots of highlights, but those couple of 10s were pretty cool to see. You don't see them too often in diving, but when you do, it's awesome.
Indeed it was. And for Luke in particular to nail a 10 on his first dive.
It's certainly a statement,
nice and cold, isn't it? Down he goes, boom.
Yeah,
great
and
effort.
I think Luke will have more of those to come in his career. He's certainly one to watch. He's up and coming. We've been talking about a lot of the talent coming through that we've seen over this competition.
And just a word on a couple of the earlier results. Just Abraham Lee and Grace Campbell winning the junior boys, junior girls titles. Abraham Lee from Elam Christian College and Grace Campbell from Westlake Girls. That was a good effort from those two, wasn't it? Yeah,
it really was. Abraham is another one that's impressed me, and I've watched him develop over the last couple of years as well. And he's still very young, so he's got a long a long future ahead of him, as does Grace. I've been impressed with Grace. She works really hard. She had an injury last year. She broke her arm, unfortunately, and worked really hard to come back from that. And she's you wouldn't even know, she's doing amazing. So it's awesome to see them coming through.
Yeah, that takes some courage, doesn't it?
It certainly does. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, all right, we're just about to have the presentation in the seniors that we've just seen completed.
It's been great to see so many people here watching as well.
Yeah, on what's been it's actually a beautiful day outside today.
It is.
But it's good to see there was a good number of supporters here all the way through what's been a pretty interesting New Zealand Secondary Schools Championship for 2020. We're just standing by for the presentation of the seniors, and then I think we'll get some reaction to what we've seen today. So now Sam Compton is coming. Finishing in second place from Albany Senior High. There he is. Coming in there to get his medal.
Yeah, well done to Luke.
And Luke Sipkis from Rangitoto. And there they are, the two competitors in the senior boys diving competition.
For the senior girls competition, in first place representing Takapuna Grammar, Maggie Squire.
And Maggie Squire, great effort from her. Tested herself nicely through this competition and did a good job in winning the girls' title. Maggie Squire from Takapuna Grammar. Well, there we are.
Maggie.
Thank you, Eleanor. And just going on, we have the next section is the presenting overall school champions. We'll go through all of their...
And we're just getting the overall school champion from all of the categories today, where points are earned on positions and placings. And Albany Junior and Senior High School win that title with a number of divers across the category, across all the categories.
And there was a point system based on the placings of the number of divers.
And Westlake Girls, of course, with 2 titles, coming home in second. And Northcote moving up to third place. So dominated by Auckland schools. In fact, most of the competitors were from Auckland.
Yeah, they were. It was great to see some up from Dunedin and Waikato and
Cambridge.
Cambridge, yeah. We hope that the diving down those ways will continue to grow, and we'll see more and more people from there over the years.
So we go through all the schools at the moment.
I think we had 20 schools here today.
Yeah, 20 schools. A pretty good effort given the circumstances of all sport in 2020. We're getting into the top 3 now. We're just getting the ground announced of getting to the top 3. Northcote came third. So Northcote College get third place.
So the likes of Rhiannon Marriott and Amber McDougall, and they put in some great dives today, so
Yeah.
well deserved on that.
Rhiannon Marriott, of course, came second in the intermediate girls competition. So yeah, good effort from them.
See them getting their medal now.
In second place, and the silver medal with exactly 100 points, Westlake Girls High School.
Yeah, and Westlake Girls will be touched on, won 2 titles. Holly Winchester and Grace Campbell. Grace Campbell winning the junior girls title, and Holly Winchester we touched on the intermediate girls title.
Yeah, great effort from them
They're
today.
both very good and promising divers.
They certainly are.
And there they are right there, both of them.
Big smiles.
And the national champions for 2010.
And the winners, Albany Junior and High and Senior Schools. Get the job done. Sheer weight of numbers, I think,
Yeah,
Liam. And of course, you're not unhappy with this because it's your old school, right?
it is. So that certainly pleases me. And I've had a little bit to do with them on continuing their diving tradition throughout the school as well. So it's great to see that there's some recognition for their, they're all working really hard, and a lot of talent there as well. See if they can all fit on the podium.
Yes, indeed. Well, I think we've got Sam Compton up there. We've got, what else do we have? Olivia Fox.
Yeah, Riley
Oxenham
getting
there.
the medal now.
What else have we had here?
Got Sam at the back there,
Yeah.
and Zoe and
Zoe
Gianna
Taylor.
and
Yeah, Zoe Taylor.
yeah.
Hannah Rutherford's there. Yeah, big team, isn't it? Of divers. And there is the Champions Trophy. So well done to Albany Junior and Senior High Schools who win the national title for 2020. So we'll just go down and see if we can just get some reaction. Liam's just going to pop down for us and go down and find out. Maybe we can interview a couple of the better performers today. And, well, he's got a number to choose from. With Holly Winchester and Luke Sipkiss, Maggie Squire all winning their titles today, and I think all of them are still here. Abraham Lee, of course, and Grace Campbell winning the junior titles. And fingers crossed we'll be all back here in 12 months' time doing it all again for you here on Sky Sport Next. So stay with us, folks. The live stream's still going for the meantime. We're just getting Liam down in position. Talk to one or two of the competitors today. We're going to hear from both of the senior boys. Who competed, Sam Compton and also Luke Sipkiss. right, I think we can almost in readiness for a bit of reaction for you here from West Wave Aquatic Centre. Let's go to Liam.
Okay, well, boys, congratulations on that event. Some great diving there from both of you. Luke, you are the winner of the senior boys competition, and you had some big dives in there. How was that event for you?
Yeah, it was alright. Pretty hard after a long weekend after nationals, but yeah, it was good competing again, and yeah, had fun. Yeah,
so you've had the Diving New Zealand Nationals go on all weekend, and now coming into this, and you had some success at those nationals as well. A couple of titles there. How's that been, coming away from those titles and also coming into this? You said it's been a long weekend and it's sort of turned into a bit of an endurance event now, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been very tiring, so lots of sleep was needed, lots of recovery, so yeah, it was fun, as I said. I just enjoyed it.
Yeah, nice. Well, you did a really good job. And Sam, you had some good dives in there as well, and obviously coming away with the national title as a school, Albany Junior and Senior High. So how's that been for you and to be a part of that team?
It's been really great. It's been an honor to be a part of the Albany junior and senior team. And this is the 9th time that we've taken out the competition, so that's really great.
Yeah, that's amazing, eh? And have you felt that you've played a little bit of a leadership type role being one of the senior athletes? Obviously you had a big role to play in that, being the only Albany competitor in that senior event.
I feel like I did have a bit of a leadership role. Also getting everyone to try to support, also supporting everyone, even people that are not in my school. Just giving love to everyone.
Yeah, great. That's one of the great things about diving, I think, is everyone seems to be supporting everyone, and I could hear some of the cheering from all of you guys, so well done on that. And well done on the weekend, and congratulations on your title and your title as well, Luke.
All right, there we are.
Come, Maggie.
Sam Compton and Luke Sipkiss. And now we're just about to hear from Maggie Squire, who was victorious in the senior girls. Let's go back to Liam.
Okay, Maggie, congratulations. You are the winner of the senior women's event, and it's a big day for you for a couple of reasons. So it's your birthday, I believe, so happy birthday first of all, but how has the day been for you?
It's been pretty interesting. I just went into the senior age group and chucked a bunch of dives that I wasn't expecting on chucking, but yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah, nice. You had some pretty big dives in there, especially that one in the middle, your full out that we call in diving terms, 4 2.5 with 1 twist. How did you feel that went?
I think that went all right, considering I didn't do many lead ups and I didn't train that dive. I was quite happy that I didn't splat or anything on that one, so yeah.
Yeah, I thought it went really well for you, and of course you've had a really big weekend as well, having the Diving New Zealand Nationals before this and now coming into this. How has that been, preparing for that and staying fresh for this event as well?
Well, it's definitely very tiring. This is day 4 of competing, so it's not usually that we do a massive 4-day event where you're competing in 3 or 4 events every single day. So it's definitely very tiring, but I just made sure I got a good night's sleep and was somewhat ready for today.
Yeah, awesome. Well, you did really, really well. Is there anything coming up for the rest of the weekend, for the rest of the year for you?
Yes, towards the end of the year there's an online Grand Prix, so that's going to be interesting seeing how that goes, especially since a Grand Prix would usually be in person, not online, but hopefully that will be fun and I compete pretty well in there, hopefully.
Yeah, it's sort of the innovation of 2020, I suppose, eh? Yeah, well, good luck for that and congratulations on all your efforts today and happy birthday.
Thank you so much.
Here we are. Good on you, Liam. Thank you to Maggie. And congratulations to all the winners as we wrap it all up here from the West Wave Aquatic Centre in the 2020 New Zealand Secondary Schools Championships. Congratulations last time for all the winners today in the junior boys. Abraham Lee of Elam Christian College, Grace Campbell of Westlake Girls High School winning the girls title. In the intermediate girls, Holly Winchester also of Westlake Girls High School, and Caleb Young from Linfield College winning the boys. And in the seniors, Luke Sipkiss from Rangitoto College and Maggie Squire from Takapuna Grammar. We hope you enjoyed all the action here today. Thanks for watching here on Sky Sports.